Come on, if you guys heard him. Hey, sure. The wages of blessing never living a lie. So we keep our meditation in the eye. We weather the storm and put up a fight, 'cause we can do anything. Should you feel like giving up, let the strength of your ancestors fill your cup. The power of Jah preserves I and guides in all that good. So evil that made me harm, and go back where they came from. No demonic words will form shall prosper, yeah. Until the older and the science man come, 'cause them can't squeeze the lion bar. No demonic words will form shall prosper. Come on, if you guys heard him. Hey, sure. The wages of blessing never living a lie. So we keep our meditation in the eye. We weather the storm and put up a fight, 'cause we can do anything. Should you feel like giving up, let the strength of your ancestors fill your cup. The power of Jah preserves I and guides in all that good. So evil that made me harm, and go back where they came from. No demonic words will form shall prosper, yeah. Until the older and the science man come, 'cause them can't squeeze the lion bar. No demonic words will form shall prosper.
Hello, welcome. Happy Tuesday.
Happy Tuesday.
Happy Tuesday to everyone. Happy Tuesday to those in television land. Happy Tuesday to our silent supporters. Happy Tuesday to everyone in the chat. As usual, thank you so much for tuning in. Really appreciate each and every one. Hope everyone had a wonderful and productive start to the week. Remember, when you come in, thumbs up the live, share us out if you can. And if you're new to the channel, please show us some support by subscribing. Tonight's topic is Trouble in the Cockpit Country with your host Byron and Anne-Marie, and we have Will Ratligan in studio. Also, Herb Nelson will join us later, and also Maria. But before we get into the program, I just want to say thank you guys so much for those who came and support our gathering in Toronto. We had a wonderful time. It was a blast, and it was really, really wonderful putting faces to all the, or well, most of the names for those who were able to present themselves physically. For those who tune in virtually, we sent out an umbrella apology, but let me apologize again for the audio. We are learning as we go along, so that special plugin that's needed. So in the future, when we have another event, the audio will be clearer. I'll have to get that, because what they were saying, because of the sound wave from the box and everything else that's going on in the room, then it's distorted the whole audio. So we'll get that plugin. So in the future, it will be clearer and better. As I said, it's a learning process. We're all new to this, and we'll make adjustments as we go along. So thank you guys so much. Really, really appreciate it. We had, as I said, we had a blast, and we're looking forward to the next time. And also, we have the flyer out for the regathering or protest in New York. It's going to be August 30th, 2024, and it's going to be at the Jamaican Consulate, in front of the Jamaican Consulate, at the corner of East 41st Street and 2nd Avenue in Manhattan. So again, please turn out in your numbers, tune in virtually if you're not able to do so. And again, it's presented by the Global Jamaica Diaspora Council, and invites Jamaicans and friends of Jamaica to raise our voices in protest against corruption, crime, poverty, failed healthcare system, poor education, etc. You know, there's a lot of issues that we're trying to highlight and deal with. So please, guys, as usual, come out in your numbers, support, support, support. Let our voices be heard. All right, so let me just quickly welcome those in the chat. Just go through that quickly. Natalia Freeman, Duran Clark, Youngs, Antonia Barrett, Trucklife, Dorothy McCoy, Una Vassal, Andrea Hunt, Don Mel, Sonia Foster, Petra Alexander, Jacqueline Brooks, John Plew, Lillian Robinson, Sharon Samuels, Rennie Thwaby, Sam Allen, and the Happy Team, Levy Alicia, Meline Bowman, Patel Cruikshank, Patricia Matthews, J. Mack, Ransford Smith, okay, I met Ransford, Lenford Wilson, Brittany L., Colleen Hall, Claudette Brown, Inner Circle, Markland Fagan, Lenford Williams, Candy Max, our channel member, welcome, welcome. Laris Beckford, I think I mentioned Laris, Louis Longshaw, Ladybug, Rosalie Ricketts, Shirley Sales, Top Ranking Construction, Althea, welcome, welcome. I hope I didn't skip anybody. Welcome, welcome. Happy Tuesday. Without any further delay, I am going to hand over to Byron Carlson. Welcome.
All right. Thank you, honey, for that usual wonderful precursor. Yes, as wifey said, as it relates to our journey in Ontario, right? That was a wonderful mission, and glad that we were able to put the faces to the names, right? Mission accomplished where that is concerned, right? And we are seeing the many persons who were there, right, having the one mission as it relates to good governance relating to our country, right? And I'm happy for that. I really, really well pleased. Now, of course we have Rattigan in studio tonight, and we'll be having Maria, we'll be having Herb Nelson join us later, because the topic that we are going to discuss is quite critical. And yes, we are going to get into the meat of that topic as it relates to the Maroons, right? I spent some time listening to Wayne Lonesome program, and Wayne Lonesome invite the Maroon chief, Richard Curry, right? And I was listening to him, and everything that Richard Curry spoke about, right, is actually 100% facts. So tonight we are going to establish to the world as it relates to the authenticity of Richard Curry, right, and the Maroons being a sovereign group. So I've done a lot of research, and we are going to present the facts tonight and establish that, because, you know, when we are doing our stuff, we do some deep dive, and we make sure that we get all the historical data, information, all the facts, right, that suggests, of course, that the Maroons indeed, right, is a sovereign group. So we are going to prove that tonight, right? But before we get into that, right, we realize that the Jamaica Labour Party is imploding as a result of the last Dan Anderson poll, and obviously for the obvious reason. When we talk about corruption after corruption, the people of Jamaica want to see a government that deals with checks and balance and transparency. All right, and people, yeah, I mentioned it first. You were listening? Okay. So Ratigan, welcome into the studio. I would presume that, of course, you want to greet our chat, and of course locally and in the diaspora. Of course, Rati, go ahead and do your greetings.
Yes, good evening, everyone. Byron and Anne-Marie, thank you for having me. Folks, everyone in the chat,
You're more than
big up
welcome.
on yourself. And all of the people watching, but they're not in the chat, big up on yourself too. Hey, Canada, why am I tell you, the Canadian thing turn up because the people them make me feel so welcome. But still can't get over it. Come and say the people them, the warm embrace, and you can see the genuine spirit of the people in Canada.
Yes.
I mean, it was mind-boggling. I kind of expected it, but I didn't expect as much as we got. And folks, enough, you agree with me. Byron and Anne-Marie, I look on a couple there, you know, outstanding couple. I mean, them look younger actually in a person. When we see them. You almost walk past Anne-Marie and ask her if she have her any ID for coming at the place. And them that serve liquor inside there, you know. And yeah, they look young and a vibrant couple. And Byron, thank you so much because folks, if
You're welcome.
if you were in that hall on Friday night and you hear Byron off the top of his head, no notes, the man do a complete explanation of why this prime minister's statutory declaration cannot and will not be certified. I mean, him get a round of applause, but him deserve like about 10 rounds of applause because the man did it off of the top of his head, no notes, and I mean, everybody was impressed. Everybody was impressed. Me, I'm not easily impressed, and I sat next to him, and when I watch him and listen to him and everything, and how him connect the dots, them, I said, well, I couldn't do it. Would I forget something? Somebody that forgot. I write some notes, or somebody that forgot say, hey, Ratty, you left out a piece there. Well, we never have to tell Byron that because Byron school with a night Friday night, and thank you so much for the education. And people, I hope you understand that this is not just education, you know, it's also a chance for action that we start to do something about this education because it's not about, we're not here to entertain people. We're here to educate. And remember, education is a two-way street because we're open to being educated. We're open to being corrected. Nobody never correct Byron Friday night. And there was no reason for correct the man because the man was absolutely 100% correct on every single thing that he said. Facts upon facts upon facts upon facts. And he did it in a sequential manner so that anybody, everybody could understand. So thank you again, my brother. And like I said, Canada, wow, the greetings. New York will not beat them enough because the greetings will get up at Canada there. And like Byron and Anne-Marie said, it was nice to actually put faces to names. Because we see when you're in the chat.
Yes.
And I mean, occasionally we might see a one picture of somebody, but actually meet the person and press the flesh and say, yes, how are you? How's the family? And you meet them and greet them. It's a wonderful feeling, man. So again, thanks to everyone. It was a great turnout. It was a great show. We started a bit late, but hey, you know it go already. It was well worth the wait to have everybody on stage just pouring out their knowledge, pouring out their hearts into what we believe is a noble cause, and that is to hold government accountable. Thank you again, Byron. Thank you again,
More than
Andrew.
welcome.
Thank you, everyone.
You're more than welcome, Ratty. And I want to say also big thanks to Wayne Lonesome. He's the man behind the entire organization, right? And put that together. So, man in the wilderness, in a way there, big up yourself, right?
Big up yourself, man. Renegade who not afraid. Big up yourself.
Renegade who not afraid. Yes.
Yeah. And them lovely wife, though. Lovely wife and sister and family. Big up on yourself. Big up on yourself.
Mama Angie.
Yeah. Hey, the sorry son to leave so early because we get invited to come over the house. I'm even joining on a program. I'm gonna tell you, man, them cook our food over there. And come love my belly now when we eat. The whole that we knock out, you know. The whole that we knock out on the man living room. Everybody asleep and snore.
We had to come pick us up because of our flight.
Our flight time.
Baron had to go back on Sunday.
Yeah, but Canada and Lonesome and everybody, thanks for the hospitality. Thanks for the warm welcome.
Yes, all right. And we are looking forward for the anniversary. So Man in the wilderness, make sure you're preparing. Anniversary, we are going to be there. Now we are going to venture in our program. And once again, I want to say big thanks for all the persons who are passing through. All right. One of the first things that we are going to highlight, we are going to, of course, highlight an important Dan Anderson poll. And as far as we're concerned, we can see that the Jamaica Labour Party is imploding. And there is no joke about that. So without any hesitation, we are going to get into that Dan Anderson poll and share it with our family. All right, honey, can you bring up the Dan Anderson poll result? Let us share that. Now, this poll is significant because it is speaking as it relates to statutory declaration, and such is extremely important as it relates to a government who is honest. Now, here it is, my people, majority Jamaicans say statutory declaration certification is a must and should be, right? And that is appropriate. Checks and balance, of course. June 2024 national poll, majority of Jamaicans believe all parliamentarians must have their statutory declarations certified to continue to sit in Parliament. I do agree with that, and I know that Rattigan agree with that, and I would believe that all the persons who follow Mystic Sensation, follow Rattigan, follow most of the vloggers who are talking about checks and balance would be agree with that. So here is a percentage breaking out, 80.8% agree, and so surprisingly down here, right, because this should be more like 100% agree as it relates to Jamaican society who want checks and balance, right? Although the 80.8%, well, yes, is the majority, right? So to speak, as it relates to how the poll was done, right? But nevertheless, right, the majority is going, right, is agreeing as it relates to 80.8%. Now, 10.6% disagree. Now, people, let us talk about this 10.6% who disagree. Now, I have a name for this 10.6% who disagree. Of these persons who are disagreed, there are three groups of people who disagree: the Nazi, the can't see, and the I don't want to see. Now, we don't want to be in that group of 10.6 who not see nothing, can't see nothing, and I don't want to see nothing. Right? So the 8.6%, right, who somewhat neutral, I want to say that you need to have an understanding as it relates to why it is very much important for politicians to be honest, right? We are talking about nation building. So my 8.6%, please run over quick, right? And be convinced and know that we are doing nation building. So for the 10.6, those three categories of the 10.6, the Nazi and can't see, and I want to see, and can stay there, and I want to see. You understand? So tata. So that goes for the poll. Now, let me tell you something. You see, corruption is corruption. And remember, folks, when I always say and speak about the criminal justice system, and I describe the three tiers of the criminal justice system, which is the investigation, the prosecution, and the judiciary, the judge who make the judgment as it relates to the cases that are presented in front of them. Now, let me go and show you as it relates to, for me, I believe that majority of our judges, right, are solid. And that is one of the reasons why, you understand, I am supporting the Caribbean Court of Appeal to be our final appellate judge. Because many of the cases, when it goes into the judiciary, right, these are well-prudent judges for majority of them. Let me say that. Now, Interestingly, let us look on this case that goes into the judiciary and what the judiciary decided on as it relates to Judge Ron Andrew Wellness out of court. Mark Golden win big. Let us bring up that. Now remember, tonight we are going to spend all of our time, right, speaking about the Maroons, but we are just juggling off the introductory topics before we get into that, because of course we are going to spend a lot of time on the Maroons tonight. All right, Wifey, can you go and share that?
Is the forestry department doing with mahogany? Solid mahogany. You know what this tree must have been? This is a solid mahogany tree.
Sorry,
The forestry department
it's
is
the
moving
same.
on.
Just that I started.
Oh, okay.
I'm sorry about that. Should start it here.
Yes.
The Supreme Court has affirmed the legitimacy of a PNP win in the Kintyre and Gingerich divisions, following a legal challenge from within government ranks. Following the last local government election, Ralston John Wilson was declared the winner of the Gingerich division in St. Catherine. After a 2-day magisterial recount, he secured victory with 7 votes, edging out the JLP's Jeremiah Edwards. St. Catherine West Central MP Dr. Christopher Tufton was displeased, citing issues with ballot handling and procedural errors. However, the High Court dismissed those claims.
The Supreme Court dismissed the JLP's applications on several grounds, including that it was an abuse of process. Following the local government election in February 2024, the JLP filed election petitions against Councillor Brown-Bond and Councillor Wilson, who had been duly elected by the voters of their divisions. Despite the magisterial recounts having been concluded in favor of the PNP candidates in both divisions, the JLP attempted to discredit the voice of the people.
The PNP says it's vindicated.
We are satisfied that the Supreme Court has upheld the integrity of the electoral process and confirmed the legitimacy of our councillors' victories. We are gratified that the rule of law has been upheld and that the integrity of our electoral process has been preserved.
The JLP may have to pay the PNP's court fees out of pocket. However, the judiciary is yet to decide on the matter. This ruling adds to a series of judicial defeats for the JLP-led government, including the 2019 strike down of the National Identification and Registration Act (NIDS) and the September 2020 decision declaring extended detentions under states of emergency unconstitutional.
All right, so let us take that away. Now, Brother Rattigan, here it is that, the People's National Party had won a clear victory as it relates to the St. Catherine constituency. However, the JLP, right, challenged that into the Supreme Court, and we have seen the final result where the Supreme Court is concerned. Now, look at this now, Dr. Tufton, where is so unfair, right, and so dishonest. Now, as it relates to the local government election and what happened in Portland, when Darrell Vaz extended the time beyond the established time that was set as it relates to where the polling station, right, duration is concerned, extended the time to 9 p.m. Isn't that, to me, that the PNP should challenge that, right, and take it into the court as it relates to what Darrell Vaz did, right, breaching the rules and guidelines as it relates to what's supposed to be transpired as it relates to the duration of the time when the poll is supposed to open. What say you on that, Ratty?
Yeah. When I heard about it, I thought that the opposition would have sought judicial relief, but for some reason they didn't. I don't know why. Because it clearly was documented
Yes.
So yes, it was one person who was aware of this. I mean, lots of people were aware of this, and there were reports all over the place. So I'm at a loss for words as to why. I mean, they know best why they didn't bring the action, and to bring the action now, it might not be too late. But I'm just kind of afraid of the abuse. What do they call it? Abuse of process.
Abuse of process.
Right. I'm just worried about that because it seems to be a popular defense. You know, when
Exactly.
you bring a lawsuit, they say it's abuse of process. Now, abuse of process could be a number of things, but it includes you wait too long. You know,
Yeah.
especially if there's no statute of limitation. If there's a statute of limitation, then they'll say you went. They'll say that the statute ran, so you can't bring an action. But yeah, I think it's a blatant infraction. If the pollings, if they, and you know what? I'm also surprised that the Electoral Commission didn't look into this on their own.
Exactly.
So
Perfectly right,
you know, yeah, that one, and that's part of their job, right? So
Exactly.
I'm surprised that I'm really surprised. I mean, I'm surprised that the opposition didn't, you know, they didn't aggressively go after it, but the Electoral Commission, that's part of their responsibility to make sure that there's free and fair election. And part of free and fair election is that you close the polls when the polling stations when you're supposed to close them. You cut off voting when you're supposed to cut off voting. You can't hope it and keep it going. And so I am, you know, somebody need to at this point, somebody need to write something to the Electoral Commission. You know what? I'll do it.
All right.
I'll do it tonight. I'll do an 8 and ask why is it that, you know, what action has been taken, because this was widely reported. It wasn't like widely reported. So yeah, that's that we need to look into that.
Exactly. Thank you for that, Ratigan there. All right, so we are moving on, and let me just use a little time before we get into more serious matter as it relates to Dayton Campbell, right, on the trail. So let us bring up that and for our people to have an understanding of what the People's National Party is doing on the trail, because we want to get out these topics that when we get onto the Maroon subject, we are going to get into detail and spend some time on that. Jocelyn Williams said there is no confidence in the Electoral Commission. I think I want to, you know, take the side that Jocelyn Williams took, right? I honestly have no confidence in them either, right? And I think that, you know, for any other reason, we have to make sure that we put that under focus, right? And make sure that we are zeroing on the electoral office. And, you know, the Prime Minister, right, sort of have that under his control. This Prime Minister that cannot be trusted, because even Andrew Holness cannot trust himself. He just cannot trust himself. So, I mean, if he can't trust himself, then how are we going to trust him? Right? Because at one point, him living in a one-bedroom house, and at the other point, he living in a two-bedroom house. So Andrew Holness cannot trust himself, and yet he's asking the people to trust him when he cannot trust himself. So I don't see how that possible. So let us try to peep in through the window to see what People's National Party is doing on the campaign trail here. Okay. All right.
And you know my style already, that means just started to go. I'm uncomfortable with the Prime Minister of the country. I am uncomfortable with the Prime Minister of the country. How can we have a Prime Minister of a country and for 3 years them can't sign off that what him own him salary can afford it? It don't look good. It don't look good. And so tonight, we are dear the Prime Minister to sue me. Because unless the Prime Minister is certified, I believe he's one of the 8 that they're investigating for illicit enrichment. I don't believe. And in order for me to disbelieve that, they need to come out and tell me what go on. But me are comfortable with the Prime Minister, me are comfortable with the government too. Let me tell you why me are comfortable with the government. A few years ago when we were in government, we bought a property named Autonomy. Right up there, sir. And then said it is a scandal because we paid $200 million for a piece of land, property we can't rotten, property where the value gone up now from where we did buy it. And now we come and watch where they are spending over $400 million to rent a building in a Manchester that they are not occupying. This government time come for them to go. And so greetings, current leader. And it is less than a year before I will officially say the most honorable Prime Minister of Jamaica, Maroon. I want to say respect to all the comments on the platform.
One simple but brilliant trick to cool your home in 90 seconds. Tired of hot and stuffy rooms?
I see a little thing in Parliament right now. When the Prime Minister, who has all of 49 MPs, but when he wants a new Minister of Government, he can't call for the MP from North Trelawney to turn a Minister of Government. He must force out somebody out of the Senate and bring in a new senator to turn them minister. North Trelawney, and a Bush constituency, and a Backbench constituency. We want top Jackie in this constituency.
To be here, and I want to acknowledge our three.
Let us take that away. Just want to hear you. Just want for you to hear as it relates to what Dr. Dayton Campbell is saying. Ratty, very important. Let me add, right? As it relates to, first world countries, as it relates to modern, right, democracy, right? Now, when you have a prime minister, and we have to be very serious at this point in time, the prime minister statutory declaration, right, cannot be certified going 3 consecutive years. And here we have the PSOJ not speaking on it. Mainstream media not speaking on the matter. And so then I am wondering, is it a situation where, it seems like it's the norm of the day or the order of the day that corruption being accepted in certain corners, right? We have our private sector of Jamaica who's supposed to call out this government as it relates to checks and balance. Or is it that as a result of some members, let me say this, and I have no evidence, some members of the private sector of Jamaica, right, may have compromised themselves, and so, right, they are party, right, of criminal activities, and so they cannot speak out as it relates to what seems to be clear, that we have members of Parliament, including the Prime Minister, may hinge on illicit enrichment. What say you, Ratty, on this program?
Well, I don't want to paint the PSOJ with a broad brush, because I know of a few members who actually they've done yeoman's work for poor people. So I don't want to paint with a broad brush, but
Yes.
the argument could be made, by and large, that they wield tremendous influence on the government, and so whatever they say, the government has no choice. Their wish is the government's demand. The government has to command. The government has to do whatever PSOJ, because them are the people with the money, right? And those are the people who actually fund elections, right? Poor people don't fund elections. Poor people participate in elections or don't participate in elections. But the people up our Hope Road, that organization, PSOJ, they're the ones who actually fund the political parties. And some of them hedge bets. Some of them provide funding for both parties. So whoever wins, they win too, because they're not playing to lose. So that is how the game is played, and people need to understand that the PSOJ wields enormous power. Now, if the PSOJ, if they as a group decided that the Prime Minister must go, the Prime Minister has no choice. He's going to go. He has to go. He must go. Nobody can save him. If the PSOJ, if they walk in and say, look, we need to talk to you, and we don't think that, you are capable of leading this country in the direction that we think it should be going, and we're getting the phone calls, we're getting the complaints, and therefore you need to take a step away from leadership. He's gone. He's gone. They are more powerful than the voters themselves, because they can force him to leave before an election. All we can do is, as a people, we can complain, we can bring lawsuits, we can do this, but we can't tell him, we can't force him, we can't tell him to leave and then have him leave. The PSOJ, they wield that power. If they say, you have no support from us, you have to go, he's gone. And big money talk, that's where it comes down to. But poor people, don't forget, every 5 years, I'm gonna get a chance to do like PSOJ. PSOJ have it every day of the week and twice on Sundays. Well, you get a chance one time every 4 to 5 years, and please make it count. Make it count this time. I'm begging you people, go out and vote. Register, enumerate, go out and vote, because people died so that you could have the right to vote.
Yes.
And the choice to vote. And some people say it's a choice not to vote. But I don't think that's a choice. I think you have no choice but to vote, particularly when you see what's going on right now. And so if only 3 out of 10 of you decide that you can vote, then the other 7, they have no reason to complain when like how you said, like hard times are bite them right now. They have no reason to complain, because uno never vote, uno never make enough voices be heard as to how the government, how the country should be running and in what direction. So here we are.
All right. Let me just push back a little here, Ratty, as it relates to, what are some of the possibilities that would cause the PSOJ, judging to the fact that 3 years in extension, the Prime Minister cannot certify? What are some of the possibilities that would hinder the private sector to engage?
That's a good question. We just have to speculate, because the PSOJ, they're not shy about commenting on political affairs in Jamaica. I mean, in fact, we hear them complain. I forgot who it was, the chairman of the PSOJ. I can't remember his name now. Is it Metri Siaga, I think? But complain that the Prime Minister said that you're going to sleep with your windows and doors open, and it not happen, and it's just running them around up in mouth. They're not shy about talking about these things. So you have to wonder, why is it that they're so silent on this issue? Why? I'm hearing from good sources that their money is on Minister Tufton becoming the next leader of the party and by extension leader of government, right? That and as we know, there is some kind of rift there between Minister Tufton and the Prime Minister, and this goes back for some years. But that's a good question you ask. Very good question. I really don't know what the answer is. Why is it that after 3 years without certification, they haven't stepped up since they wield such influence and power? They haven't stepped up and said, no, you can't stay. But you know something? There's another person that, I mean, useless. When I say useless, is that he won't do it, but he has the power to do it. The Governor General has the power to step in as well, He has the power to step in as well and call the Prime Minister and say, listen, this is not working out. And the Governor General can call a meeting with the PSOJ and the Prime Minister, can summon them to his residence and say, listen, this is not working out. We can't, this not look good. We can't have a Prime Minister here. 3 years and it's not certified. And, all we hear is this pen pal agreement between the Integrity Commission and the Prime Minister. Them right back and forth to each other. It'll take a toll on the reputation of Jamaica internationally, not just locally, but internationally. Can you imagine when him go out and meet with him colleagues them, particularly those who have embassies in Jamaica and them know what's going on, because them send a report to anybody who want meet with them, say, hey, that man in statutory declaration for 3 years, and there is something fishy going on here with this man, so be careful. Can you imagine how you don't want your Prime Minister to be seen in that way? You want your Prime Minister to be seen as a statesman, as a man above and beyond reproach, as a man who people can trust, as a man whose word is his bond. You want that kind of person as a leader, a man that people will follow wherever he goes. As long as him said, this is where we're going, people go. There's so much dissension within the party, as you mentioned. So can you imagine what's going on in the country? So long story short, that's a good question you ask. And my brother, I wish I could give you an answer, but I don't have an answer for that one.
All right. Thank you, Ratty, for that input. Put it back, Pauline. Well, yes. Pauline said that Tuffy, there you go. Yes, Carlin Jones said we don't want Tuffy unless he can tell where our 7 billion plus gone. I tell you something, Ratty, we have some brilliant people in the chat. And these people, they are keeping a track of every item, right? And trust me, they are responding accordingly, right? Wonderful input from Carlin there. I do believe that as well. Now let us look in terms of certain decisions that the People's National Party again making in North Trelawney, where Dr. Wickham is concerned. And so, of course, the People's National Party is strengthening their candidate to make sure that a victory come the general election is certain. Let us look and see what is happening there. President Dr. Wickham. Okay.
Too many losing tickets? Then don't spend another dime on Lotto until you watch this first.
Our chairman, Maroon, top chairman, top MC, the People's National Party. Why? We have so much top comrade here tonight. Like I said, no respect and big up to all of the comrades on the platform, officers, members of parliament, councillors, candidates. Trust me, my heart full. Senators, yeah, and candidate too. Naturally, first of all, you're a special constituency. The energy you will feel every time I come to Naturally. Second to none. Second to none. I want to say to Comrade Dennis Meadows. Dennis Meadows, a sample. No respect you. I admire somebody who in difficult circumstances can stand up like a big man and put his party in front of all other considerations, in front of the disappointment and the hurt. And in doing so, he has established himself as somebody who is worthy to be respected and supported. And you know, we are a party where enough people have returned from all kind of adversity. And you know, your day is assured. Your day. To my friend, Comrade Dr. Wickham McNeil and his lovely wife, Sheila, and John, lovely to see you, man. Comrade Wickham McNeil. Boy, I'm thinking about the government we have to form soon. And I see the talent we have. We see the young people coming through brilliant. And we need some experience and wise heads as well. And it was a great thing when Wickham said to me he was willing to come back into the arena and serve the people. His father, Dr. Kenneth McNeil, when my father came to Jamaica in 1953 for the first time, his father met my father at the wharf. Was sent by the University of the West Indies to meet my father. So my father's first friend in Jamaica was Wickham's father. That's how far our families go back. And I know that tonight, my father and his father are up there smiling together that this is happening here. Comrades, we know what happened in 2020, and this constituency has been under the yoke of the Labour Party since then. And I know that you are ready and determined to make sure that whenever it is called, every comrade is going to come out and vote for their party because we want a new Jamaica. We want a better Jamaica for our people. And the only way to achieve that is for the People's National Party to come back into government and not Autonomy, not be the column of the People's National Party. We're not taking anything for granted because we're not taking a chance. Work, we are going to work and deliver this thing with a great victory. So I say to every worker and warrior and supporter, any of the schisms and schisms and fights where they're there, put that aside. We're not dealing with that right now. We are going to sort that out the right way in due course. But right now, it's politics business we are dealing with, and it's a business of the People's National Party. And we want to make sure we take this thing back. And everybody come on board. And everybody has to stand firm. And we move forward. And we know where we are going. And comrades.
All right.
We shouldn't happen. And we have a problem of integrity at the highest level of government in the country. And we have an education system that is not delivering educational outcomes that can develop our country to the greatness that it is destined to have. We have a health system which does not treat the people of Jamaica the way they should be treated, or indeed the staff who work in the health system either. We have an economy that is too dependent on remittances and tourism alone. We have to rebalance the thing, and we have to bring agriculture to its rightful place and rural development so we can feed not just Jamaica, but our neighbors and the world. So we have some of the best produce. Comrades, we are located in a geographically advantaged place because we are on the major trade route for ships coming through the Panama Canal. And we need to build an economy that provides logistic support to the maritime interests, because that can create tremendous wealth. The PNP has a vision for integrating our country into the global supply chain through trade, so that we can encourage investors here to come in and create value in the global supply chain. Comrades, I am looking forward to the opportunity to implement the policies and programs that our shadow cabinet is working on. Energy has to be a critical component of the economy we want to build. And I have a person who holds that, a comrade who holds that portfolio, who is a man who has shown he can think out the box and he can transform a situation from one where the country was under the yoke of an old system and flip it around to a new system where everybody get the benefit. And I'll be working with him to achieve that kind of transformational outcome in energy. Because an economy has to be built on energy. We want to create a Jamaica where you don't have to go foreign to make it in life. You can do it right here, where you can achieve your hopes and dreams, because the opportunities are being created by each and every Jamaican. That is our vision, and it has been that vision since 1938, and it will continue to be that vision until we deliver it, and that mission is not yet fulfilled. So, comrades and friends, I end where I started. This is a serious time. It's a serious business to depend. And I'm asking you all to come together and put out the energy that is needed to ensure that this constituency of North Trelawney delivers Dr. Wickham McNeil to God to represent you as the part of the next PNP government under the leadership of Comrade.
All right, my people, there you have it. And the essence of that message is unity, that the People's National Party must unite and focus on the mission ahead to ensure that they galvanize themselves to get out a party, a government that is highly corrupted. Now, let us take the time to introduce, of course, Herb Nelson to the program. Brother Herb, I want to say a big thanks for you to make it here, right? Do you want to say anything to the panel and to the chat before we go in our next topic? Please go ahead, Brother Herb.
I heard you said before we go, I said, man, how late am I?
No. You're early.
Oh, wow. Well, look, blessings to you and Marie. And
right.
to the panel, I see Ratty. I don't know if anybody else is there, but the chat is alive as usual. Highly intelligent folks, espousing a lot of different positions. And it's all interesting. So I just want to join in and, say welcome to all. Thanks.
Thank you. All right. So now we are going to get into our primary subject. Now, the Maroons, right? And, let me just put up that introduction since, of course, this is the primary subject matter that we are going to discuss and get into deep details tonight where the Maroons are concerned. Now, without any delay, let us give the introduction of that, right? And of course, we are going to get into the detail where the Maroons are concerned and what's transpiring as it relates to the government engagement with the Maroon, and let me say, unfortunate and uncomfortable engagement. All right. Here it is. You see written here, the imminent threat to the Maroons of quick step in the country, right? We all know what transpired, right?
Turn the situation.
All right. So just for that little introduction there, let us take this away. Now, since we are going to get into the Maroon, now there are three important things, right, that the audience need to know about Chief Curry, right? And I am going to speak on those three important issues where Chief Curry is concerned, right? And then, of course, we get into the issue. And let me say this. As far as I'm concerned, and let me say that, subjectively speaking, because that is my perception, right? Chief Curry is one of the best chiefs that has ever passed through the leadership helm where the Maroons are concerned. And he's someone who is vigorously defending the Maroons, the rights of the Maroons, and their rightful place, right, as a sovereign group. And we are going to prove it tonight. Now, we know that Chief Curry and Andrew Holness, right, have a personal situation, right? And we are going to also discuss that. Now, I watch, as I said, we learned some program with the chief, and I said everything that the chief had spoken about, right, is 100% true. And we are going to bring up evidence tonight. So let us first get through the three important things about Chief Curry that we ought to know. All right, without any delay, let us bring up that.
Okay.
All right. So here it is, my paper, because we have done the research. Latest 3 things you should know about Chief Richard Curry, right? From February 22nd, 2021, Accompong's youngest chief has been making waves at home and on social media, where his photos and big plans for the Maroons have already received rave reviews. Here are the 3 things we learned about the new leader in his interview with the Gleaner. 1, the former Monroe College student has a first degree in accounting and international business at the University of Technology and a MBA from the Mona School of Business. 2, Curry has spent 15 years in finance, marketing, and communications, having worked with PricewaterhouseCoopers as an internal auditor and BB&G as an investment analyst. The 40-year-old has also worked with a number of multinational companies, including, there you go, Ray and Nephew, Consumer Brands, and Lascelles DeMarco. 3, though he has assumed the role of leader of the Accompong Maroons, he does not consider himself a politician. I would never, and let me quote him, I would never consider myself a politician, never wanted to be seen in that light. But what drew me was the witnessing the atrocities that were being carried out against the culture, against the people, he told the Gleaner, and clear that is what he's still been dealing with, right? And remember, he said that from 2021. Take that away, honey. Now, let us get into the order of the day, right? Now, we are going to bring up, because we are going to get and reveal a lot of things tonight. We are going to reveal. Now, let us get into some of the anti-punky that the Jamaica government, right, has been dealing with as it relates to, right, this current situation, right? Jamaica Observer, Forestry Department sees more illegal timber.
Okay.
And the reverse psychology that is playing out as it relates to the government. It is the government, right, who definitely prefer, right, the timber and now want to make it looks like that they are, of course, hunting persons who are stealing the lumber. The government need to catch themselves and put themselves in jail. That's what the government need to do, catch themselves and put themselves into jail. Now, the Forestry Department sees more illegal harvested timber in the Cockpit Country Forest Reserve. Can you imagine? Now, Kingston, Jamaica, the Forestry Department says that on Monday it seized an additional 600 pieces of lumber that were illegally cut from the Cockpit Country Forest Reserve, which forms part of the Cockpit Country protected area. The department said the lumber was seized during an 8-hour operation with the Jamaica Constabulary Force. Can you imagine, people? And were hidden several miles inside the forest reserve, accessed from the quick step in the St. Elizabeth. That is where you carry the wood, carry the lumber, then go put down. No, the operation on Monday was conducted without any adverse incident. There was no civil disorder, and the police ensured the safety of the officers of the state agency. Since the operation began on Friday, the agency has seized over 750 planks of board taken from various native trees, including the Jamaica mahogany, the blue maho, bitterwood, bitter damsel, and prickly yellow. Given the scale of the operation, it was evident that the activities were organized. Of course, when you organize it, right? I want to ask a question. Which criminals right, have the audacity to use the forestry vehicles, right, and go to what that here is?
Quick step.
And go to Quick Step. Which criminals are going to go to the forestry department and use the Quick Step vehicles to go and load
Use the forestry vehicle.
timbers, right? This is just highly hypocritical. It is clear that this is a well-coordinated and funded activity. Yes, it's well-coordinated by the government that had been executed over several weeks. Ainsley Henry, the Chief Executive Officer and conservator of Forest, said, yeah, man, you're involved in it too. Despite our effort, it is clear that some plans were taken out prior to the commencement of our operations on Friday. And so we are encouraging Jamaicans to question the source of local lumber being purchased. And let me say this. Let me preempt you, right? The Forestry Department, let me preempt you. You are going to have a long winding investigation and no one is going to be arrested. Mystic Sensation is betting you that no one is going to be arrested because the culprits are investigating themselves. Anyone who is trading in local produced timber must have a valid and current sawmill license. If you are unsure of what it looks like, you can visit our website for an example. Henry continued. He added that the agency continues its investigation, that is going to result in no one being arrested because the agency that continued the investigation is guilty and culpable and remains resolute in the protection and management of Jamaica Forest Resort. Now, we don't protect it. Resources, right? Of course, it is Richard Curry who is protecting the resources, not you. Not you. So I'm taking it away. Now let us get just imagine, right? This is what the Forestry Department is coming out with. You understand their tricks and their trade. Now, I want to show my Jamaican people something before I get deeper into the Maroons. And let me say this. Before, you have some people who decided that, okay, they will not vote for Mark Golding, right? Where Byron is going. Because Mark Golding is white. Now, Jamaica, I want you to listen to me. I'm going to show you something tonight that a lot of people is going to be alarmed about. But many people don't know that during the colonial era, you have a lot of white men who fought for us, died with us. You have a lot of white men, right, who fought for us in slavery. Now, many people may not know the name William Wilberforce. I am going to get to the Maroon, but it's important right before I get into the Maroon. Anyone can research on William Wilberforce as it relates to what William Wilberforce had done. Now, what I'm going to expose tonight, right, coming from a well-established media, which is BBC. And so then, what the Maroons have done, the reason why I'm mentioning that is that what the Maroons have done ought to be respected. And what we see Andrew Holness had done to political administration that fight the Maroon vigorously. And we're going to show the evidence tonight. Two political administration that fought the Maroon vigorously, which was Bruce Golding, and Andrew Holness as current. I am going to show you evidence. We are going to get there tonight. Why I brought up William Wilberforce is to show our Jamaican people that the genesis of slavery was assisted by black men who helped hunting us, caught us, and sold us into slavery. How many people know that? So when we see a likes of Warmington getting up and talk about no white man, what we see that Andrew Holness is doing with the Cockpit Mountain, this is so important for me to mention. And when we see Richard Curry is fighting, you have to understand the genesis of this, that what Andrew Holness wanted to do is to hand over the Jamaican people to crony capitalism. I want people to listen to me tonight. Crony capitalism, as it relates to our bauxite, as it relates to our precious woods, as it relates to our rich resources that Curry is fighting for. But to the fact that Curry is highly educated, Curry is not going to be their puppet on a string. And that is the problem Andrew Holness have with Curry. Curry is not going to stand there as a chief. Stand there as a chief and allow crony capitalism to destroy the Cockpit, the lungs of our Jamaican society. The lungs of the Jamaican society. So what Curry is doing, people have to understand how important it is for Curry to be there. And what Curry is doing is significantly important in saving us all. And that's why I'm saying to all Jamaicans to stand in solidarity with Richard Curry tonight. Now, let me show you the evidence as it relates to. And so then when we see a Mark Golding, a William Wilberforce, a Michael Manley, a Norman Manley, yes, they are white, but their hearts are fighting for the soul of black people. Yes, they are white, but their hearts are fighting for the soul of black people. Don't let Andrew Holness fool you. Andrew Holness is in pursuit of wealth, and that wealth that he is in pursuit of is going to destroy him. That wealth, the illicit enrichment that Andrew Holness is pursuing, is going to destroy him. Now, let me now balance things in terms of how people need to look on people. In every race, you have good and bad. Whether you're black, white, pink, purple, Chinese, Indian, you name it. Every race has good and bad. And so then, you are not to just characterize a race because the race is white or the race is black, right? Discriminate, you understand, and racial implications. So I am going to show you what some black men did in the genesis of the slavery. Without any delay, let me bring up the evidence tonight, because we go deep in this research to bring about, to justify Richard Curry and the Maroons' authenticity, and of course their sovereign rights that need to be respected. So let me dig up all the evidence tonight. Now, let us dig up the first evidence for all those who run out and talking about Mark Golding white and that and blah, 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 and all the garbage, right? Now, remember, I say to you, right, that Haile Selassie that said the greatest speech that still live on until this time. Until the philosophy which all one race superior and another inferior become discredited and abandoned, until the color of a man's eyes is no more significant to the color of his skin. Haile Selassie, you need to look in a man and judge him as a result of his action, not by his skin. And so then tonight we are coming with a conviction. So let us look and let us make ourselves aware that we cannot judge people by the skin as it relates to what Haile Selassie had said, until the color, right, of a man's skin is no more significant than the color of his eye. Right? Let us get into that clip and show you my Nigerian great-grandfather, soul slave. Now, the information that I'm going to bring forth tonight, it reads, my Nigeria. Blessed Sister Daisy, let me...
she's having some...
Oh, okay. All right. Now, let me read the headline of this, bring up this information, wifey, because I want them to see it. I want them to be edified and be educated. Oh. All right, Sister Daisy, welcome, my lovely sister. And you're coming in at right time, right time when we are getting to the meat of the matter. What say you? I want to hear your voice, man. Speak.
You're making life difficult for Andrew. No, this is why I have to say to Jamaican people. And listen to me well. We will not lie to you.
All right.
Reserved for Andrew Honest. We would like for you to be educated, informed voters. That's all we are saying.
Nobody say go escape. You know, me and Wayne Loan, so is going to record here. You know. Me and Wayne Loan, as a matter of fact, I want
Rattigan and Herb, you know. Herb on my backup singer, Rattigan on my backup dancer.
I'll be honored to back you up any day, Miss Daisy.
Right.
Let me tell you.
Okay. All right. So let us get into that report and edify our people. Now, bring it up. Let us share this. And see there, BBC. So this is an established medium, the British Broadcasting. I want people to see that. When Mr. Sensation do the research, we don't play with our research. My Nigerian great-grandfather sold slaves. This was published 18 July 2020. Amid the global debate about race relations, colonialism, and slavery, some of the Europeans and Americans who made their fortunes in trading human beings have seen their legacies reassessed, their statues toppled, and their names removed from public buildings. Nigerian journalist and novelist Adubai Trisia Nwambe writes that one of her ancestors sold slaves, but argues that he should not be judged by today's standards or values. My great-grandfather, Nwambe Ogogo Aruku, was what I prefer to call a businessman from the Igbo ethnic group of southeastern Nigeria. He dealt in a number of goods, including tobacco and palm produce. He also sold human beings. He had agents who captured slaves from different places and brought them to him, my father told me. With Andrew Honest's policies, are selling us out right now. Now let us move on. Novobumba, Bani, Ogogo, slaves were sold through the ports of Calabar and Bani in the south of what is today known as Nigeria. People from ethnic groups along the coast, such as the Efik and the Aija, usually acted as stevedores for the white merchants and as middlemen for Igbo traders like my great-grandfather. You hear that, people? They loaded and offloaded ships and supplied the foreigners with food and other provisions. They negotiated prices for slaves from the interlands, then collected royalties from both the sellers and buyers. Now, there are photographs showing and displaying. About 1.5 million Igbo slaves were shipped across the Atlantic Ocean between the 15th and 19th centuries. More than 1.5 million Africans were shipped to what was then called the New World, the Americas, though the Calabar port in the Bight of Bonny, making it one of the largest points of exit during the transatlantic trade. Take this away. Take this away, honey. Yes. I have to touch that to wake up our consciousness that in the genesis of the Atlantic slave trade, black men participated in selling slaves. Now, let us speak. We also have seen white men who fought hard to free slaves and die doing so. And that's why I said for people to go and read up on William Wilberforce. Not only William Wilberforce alone, many whites had fought, right, for our freedom. Many people don't realize that here in Canada, a wonderful history was taking place. It was, of course, the white people in Canada, as it relates to the underground railroad, where blacks from America run away from America, come to Canada. And of course, they were secured by those white people who would definitely believe that they have to fight for these black people. So I want people to understand what is going on. So when the reason why I'm touching this is to speak about colonialists and speak about neo-colonialists that transform itself into crony capitalism. So when we see Nigel Clark in terms of what Michael Manley, let me teach people the history. When Michael Manley fight for us and said, we cannot give our backside for free. We have to take it to them because I have to develop my people. Michael Manley is white. Michael Manley said my people need to get free education. What Michael Manley had done? Michael Manley had increased the levy and go against the United States. I'm speaking tonight because we are getting into the Maroons tonight. What Nigel Clark and Andrew Wallace had done today, because the levy that Michael Manley fought for and increased the levy so that we could have free education, many of them who are in the Jamaica Labour Party being benefited from what Michael Manley had done. But no, they carry a very short memory because of greed and crony capitalism. Andrew Wallace will do anything to sell us out. And so then Andrew Wallace moving towards the Cockpit Mountain has to deal with Richard Curry, who is defending that. What Nigel Clark had done, Nigel Clark had removed the levy, giving our backside free to who? Neo-colonialists, crony capitalism, And so then, we have seen now that Andrew Holness is making other move. But we are going to bring the history and dig deep tonight. Now, let us show the Jamaican people, as it relates to the two administrations who want to delegitimize Richard Curry. Right? We have seen Bruce Golding try to delegitimize Richard Curry in saying to Richard Curry that they are not a sovereign group. Yes, we're going to come with the evidence. We have seen Andrew Holness say it explicitly clear that his government is not going to acknowledge another sovereign authority. Now just imagine it as it relates to what the Maroons had done. We had seen rumor against the Maroons that the Maroons sold out black people for 30 pieces of silver. Lie. Tonight we are going to prove it. We have the evidence here. Right? And so then we see all these rumors so that capitalism can have its way with the Cockpit mountain. But it is not going to work. Because we, the people of Jamaica, is going to stand in solidarity in defending Curry and defend the Cockpit mountain. And so then, we are going to first educate our people. So my people, let us go into the treaty itself to justify Richard Curry authority and tell Andrew Holness and him capitalism and cronyism to ease back and step back. So let us first legitimize that without any delay, bring up the treaty. Treaty between the British and the Maroons. Let us show Jamaican people that they can read it for themselves. Now, my people, here, the treaty itself, when we do our research, we research to the belly. Articles of pacification with the Maroons of Trelawney Town concluded March the 1st, 1738, in the name of God, amen. Whereas Captain Kojo, Captain Akompong, Captain Johnny, Captain Kofi, Captain Kwaku, and several other Negroes, their dependents and adherents have been in a state of war and hostility for several years past against our sovereign Lord the King and the inhabitants of this island, and whereas peace and friendship among mankind and the preventing of effusion of blood is agreeable to God, consonant to reason, and desired by every good man. And whereas His Majesty George II, King of the Great Britain, France, and Ireland, and of Jamaica, Lord, Defender of the Faith, and as by his letters patent dated February the 24th, 1738, in the 12th year of his reign, granted full power and authority to John Guthrie and Francis Sadler, Esquires, to negotiate and finally conclude a treaty of peace and friendship with the aforesaid Captain Kojo and the rest of his captains, adherents, and others, his men, then mutually, sincerely, and amicably have agreed to the following articles. First, that all hostilities shall cease on both sides forever. Secondly, that the said Captain Kojo, the rest of his captains, adherents, and men shall forever hereafter in a perfect state of freedom and liberty. Let me read back that over. That said Captain Kojo, the rest of his captains, adherents, and men shall forever hereafter in a perfect state of freedom and liberty. Andrew Wallace government, you hear that? You hear that, Andrew Wallace? Perfect state of freedom and liberty, excepting those who have been taken by them or fled to them within 2 years last past, if such are willing to return to their said masters and owners with full pardon and indemnity for their said masters or owners for what is past, provided always that if they are not willing to return, they shall remain in subjection to Captain Kojo. Now I heard people running rumor in talking about Kojo returned slave. That's a lie. And in friendship with us, according to the form and tenor of this treaty. Thirdly, that they will shall enjoy and possesses for themselves and posterity forever. It not say, come here, forever, forever, all the lands situate and lying between Trelawney Town. Let me read back that over to Andrew Honest. Let me read back this over to Andrew Honest. Mr. Andrew Honest and your government, your crony capitalism. The third, that they shall enjoy and possess for themselves and posterity forever. It must have for some years. It must have for some years. Leg off Richard Curry shot. Leg off the man shot. All the lands situated and lying between Trelawney Town and the Cockpit to the amount of 1,500 acres bearing northwest from the said Trelawney Town. Fourthly, that they shall have liberty to plant the said lands with coffee, cocoa, ginger, tobacco, and cotton, and to breed cattle, hogs, goats, or any other flock, and dispose of the produce or increase of the said commodities to the inhabitants of this island, provided always that when they bring the said commodities to market, they shall apply first to the customs or any other magistrate of the respective parishes where they expose their goods to sale for a license to vend the same. Let me tell you something, Andrew, and let's let go off for the man shot. Take it away, I'm not going to go further. Yeah. Take that up. Now, Sister Maria, we're going to speak on this. And of course, Brother Herb, Ratty, we're going to speak on this. Right? And when we talk about evidence, right, that authenticate the Maroons to be a sovereign group, they had fought blood, sweat, and tears for their lands. And so then you have black people. Andrew Wallace is a black man. Do you recognize that? Just like also Nigerians, as it relates to the first document I read, hold black people and put them in slaves. Andrew Wallace want to sell out to capitalism. And so then, he's not going to recognize Curry's authority. But before we go there and go any deeper, as usual, you know, Mystic Sensation is a nice gentleman. We always said ladies before gentlemen. Sister Maria, what do you have to say?
Yeah, you know, I'm listening to you and I'm thinking about the situation with the Maroons and what happened with Chief Curry on the weekend and what, you know, what has been unfolding still, because according to the Forestry Department, they have found more lumber being stolen. And the question, begs, who is stealing this lumber? Because it makes no sense that a strange person would leave from Kingston to go into the Cockpit. So I don't understand, what is unfolding here. But I don't recall a time when the Maroons have having such.
You're breaking up, Maria. You're breaking up, Maria.
Your internet is.
You want to log out, Sister Maria, and log in back. And
The question to change my system.
Okay, all right. So let me just switch to Herb right away. Brother Herb, you have listened keenly to what I have just read. What say you on the subject?
What is obvious to me, and greetings again to the people in the chat. What is obvious to me in this attempt by Andrew Holness to exert power over the people in Akapang and other areas where the Maroons clearly have their mandate given to them by the British, the same British who gave the independence to Jamaica, and same British who had to free the slaves. All of that was because of the defeat and the constant haranguing by the Maroons, right?
Yes.
These guys used to march in formation into the jungle with the rifle teams and their drummers and buglers to let the Maroons know they were coming for them. But the Maroons were masters of camouflage. You'd see a tree up ahead or trees up ahead. And then when they get close enough, all the branches would separate and the burst of gunfire would then envelop the units. These are tactics that even the British Army to this day, the Japanese Army adapted them. There's a lot of different armies adapted these tactics that the Maroons had. But the bottom line with Andrew Holness is he wants power. And the power that he wants is at the Maroons' expense. So he most likely is looking at the areas that he can undermine Chief Curry, right? Mark you, he and the other prime ministers before him have done very little to force the US, the Canadians, Russians, Chinese, whoever owned bauxite companies to clean up the mess that was left behind. And they want to pile other mess on top of what's there. Well, it's created a massive problem for the Maroons. Two things will bring us down here in North America. Not having health coverage and lack of funding. And this is what is hurting the Maroons currently. They need to resolve that problem, which is an old problem, not add to it by bringing in these American and other companies to dig up the place, spread all this bauxite dust, and kill off more people. But I keep saying every time I've appeared on shows, Andrew Holness and his band of merry politicians do not care, because there's no power in Jamaica that is stopping them. There's no power in Jamaica that is opposing them. If Jamaica is a country of laws, which it is, then somebody has to enforce those laws. And we don't see it happening today, right? we see Andrew Holness wanting to bully Chief Curry, just like how he's bullying everybody within his own party and elsewhere. That's why he's a big bully. And with a bully, you got to know how to poke him in the eye.
Yes.
Well, you know, Chief Curry is not by himself, right? You have got groups that support Chief Curry, right? In the old days, yes, we had the abolitionists that worked towards the abolition of slave trade, slavery itself, and then Wilberforce. He did not directly work with the Maroons, but his broader efforts to end slavery and promote human rights created that favorable environment for Maroons and other free communities. His work helped to shift public opinion and policy towards greater respect for the rights and autonomy of these various groups like the Maroons and other groups out there that Wilberforce fought to have them recognized.
Yes.
And all these recognitions, they have, if you noted in the document that you read, there's a legal framework.
Yes.
It says how much land, it says where the lands are,
Yes.
and it says what development should happen on those lands at the hands of the Maroons.
At the
It
hands of
didn't
the
say at
Maroons.
the hands of Andrew Holness.
Exactly.
There you go.
So, you know, wonderful input coming from Brother Herb there, right? Educating us as it relates to those details. Now, Sister Maria, you have the button again in your hand.
Yes, yes. Thank you, sir. Yeah, you know, that well said, Sir Herb. And I'm thinking, I don't recall a time when, you know, there was so much animosity between the Maroons and the government, because it was understood that the Maroons had sovereignty. That was just, you know, something that everybody understood. So I don't recall. But then again, you know, on Sunday, when Chief Curry was talking, he said that they came up there, they didn't bring any water, they didn't bring any food, they didn't bring any supplies for people who were affected by burial. Yet there was this show of force. What for? For them doing that which they're supposed to do on their territory. And you have this, especially the JDF showing up, and you know, after a crisis, normally the military would come out and be doing things like helping to rebuild structures, that sort of thing. But they didn't show up for that, but they showed up to antagonize Chief Curry and the Maroons. And you have to ask the question, why? Because when you look at the Forestry Department, whose ministry does that fall under? Who's responsible for that? There you go. And anything with Andrew Holness is always suspicious. Anything at all. Always suspicious. And we have to support Chief Curry and the Maroons, their rights to their land, their rights to their sovereignty. The treaty did not say at the whim and fancy of any government, you know.
Exactly.
It says they are free to live there forever, which means their generations to come have the right to live there without being interfered with and harassed by any government. They're not giving them, how much state resources are they getting, really? So they have their right to be on the land. Why harass them? What is the purpose? And they are supposed to, and like he said about the lumber, he was, and you see, they're defending something based on previous experience, that some lumber was quote unquote stolen, sold, and they said, okay, they're gonna give them royalty for it. They did not get that royalty. So when this situation happened now, they decided that they're going to make sure there are some checks and balances put in place, and they have some follow through. Then you had this show of force by the state with their military forces. And
Exactly.
my brother, my brother Ratigan look like him just eating up.
Okay.
Yes,
So
you know. So there was this show of force. There was this show
You're
of force.
turning it to lonesome now, Miss Daisy.
I know.
He's very good in observing, Will. You muted,
Yeah,
Will.
you're muted.
No. When you talk to attorneys, sometimes it's just crazy. We just talk to attorney, nice lady, but it's just that a bunch of cases appeal court and all this stuff, and it's like, time sensitive and all this stuff. And but I've been listening to the conversation though. I don't want mystic things I'm not listening. No, I'm see man, I
But,
get
I
excited
hope you
and
know.
really tweet
But I hope you know. See, I'm a backup dancer. Me I tell you from now. Herb, I'm a backup singer.
yes.
You, I'm a dancer.
No, but
All
I
right.
have a question for ask Mystic. The treaty, and
Yes.
I saw where it says that where people are saying, yeah, them go out and them hunt slaves and them turn over slaves, and the treaty says, hey, if you have slaves within the last 2 years and them want to stay with you, that's fine,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
You have to get them over. But have we ever thought about what happened after the treaty? Because I don't think the treaty spoke to what would happen after the signing of the treaty if they captured slaves or they had slaves or whatever. I suspect it would be the same thing, right? That if they wanted to turn, if the slave, because the slaves would say, oh, we want to stay with you, and the Maroons, and then that's that, right?
Right.
Yes.
It gives them that freedom. So go ahead.
But very good question, because if you go further down in the document, right, in terms of for as it relates to what you're talking about there, right, where slaves would go there after the treaty, right? He has never, right, hand over any slaves, right, to them, right, and so people have a different perception in terms of. I heard arguments in terms of how Maroons sell out black people, handing over.
No, that's not true. That is not true. Yeah, that is not true.
But here's the thing: the way I'm looking at it, even you've read the document, and people, I think they have a clear appreciation of what the document said and what it meant.
Yes.
No. Putting the slavery piece aside, I think it's section 2, right? Putting that piece aside.
Yeah.
We still have the issue of whether or not the government of Jamaica has the right to go onto these people's lands. That's the issue. The issue is not about slavery. Slavery over, the Emancipation Act passed and everything like that. But we still have the people living on the land, and now we have a government that is saying, we have a government that says they don't recognize any sovereignty. It's just one sovereignty, and it's Jamaican sovereignty. They don't recognize the sovereignty of these people. Let me share a quick story with you.
Yes.
Years ago, I went to a compound and I met the chief. Because I said, I want to go there because, I always hear some of my grandmother's a Maroon. I don't know if it's true, but that's what I heard. So I said, let me just go up there and check it out and see what it's like. So I went up there, spoke to the chief, and I asked him a question. I said to him, Chief, do you consider yourself a Jamaican first or a Maroon first? And he said, I am a Maroon first, and then I'm Jamaican. He said, don't forget that we got our freedom way before you got yours, because the rest of Jamaica is talking. They got theirs in 1962. We got ours from 1738. So, and he made it abundantly clear to me. So if they've been there since if they've had their freedom since 1738, where does the prime minister get off saying that he doesn't recognize their sovereignty? Or there's only one, or he says there's only one sovereignty, and that's the sovereignty of Jamaica, nobody else. I don't understand that.
Okay, we are going to dig into that, Ratty. Very, very good question there. And this is it in terms of the Constitution, the 1962 Constitution, right? There should be something that solidly, right, enshrined, right, as it relates to the rights of the Maroon, right, and as a result of that, right, there are some form of hiccup right there to the fact that, right, there was nothing that enshrined, into the Constitution. And so then that is where now the government is using that now to their advantage. Now, and that is one of the reasons why, if we notice that in the Constitution reform, right, they don't want to have that dialogue with Richard Curry. That is the particular dialogue that Richard Curry want to have for to ensure that the certain policies, certain laws now become entrenched, right, into the Constitution. But we are going to get there. We're going to get there, Ratty. Very good question, and I love it. But Ratty, you know what?
But you know, stick up in there, Mystic. Do you realize that this is a prime minister who has been so violating the Constitution from he was in opposition, that if he's violating the Constitution, why will he not violate the rights of the Maroons?
Exactly.
Why will he not disrespect the treaty? So he has no respect for traditions and norms and how things have been done that work. He's not changing things because they did not work to the benefit of the people. You know, he changes things because it doesn't work to his benefit and the benefit of his government. So that is why he's running headlong into a conflict with the Maroons.
Exactly. And, you know, we are going to get down in terms of what Ratty, the question that Ratty asked there. Now, Ratty and Maria and her, look at this. Now, earlier I spoke of two administrations that want to dilute the authenticity of the Maroon sovereignty. Now, which was Bruce Golding and Andrew Holness. Jamaica Labour Party, you know, Jamaica Labour Party. Watch this now. Let us play this clip, and I want you to listen to an interview between Richard Curry and Bruce Golding. Listen to this interview between Richard Curry and Bruce Golding. Let us play this.
Today, the leader of the Acampang Maroons, Colonel Chief Richard Curry. Chief Curry, welcome to the program.
Former Prime Minister Golding, thank you for having me, sir. It's a pleasure to be here.
I'm glad we were able to get you. Now, you have been much in the news recently. The issues regarding the status and the rights of the Maroons, those are not new issues. They've been around for a long time. But since your elevation as colonel, you have been pursuing those issues with renewed vigor. What precisely are you insisting on, and what's the approach that you see towards bringing the matter to some sort of satisfactory conclusion?
This is a nail clipper that everyone is concerned about recently. Why? Because it is really different from ordinary.
Thank you for that question, sir. All right, well, let me start by saying, former Prime Minister Golding, that I know you're a very diplomatic individual, right? And the way you've carried yourself through politics, and I would also gather through life, has been maintaining, you know, a balanced approach and, you know, giving yourself the respect of information and time to process and make accurate decisions. Now, I've been asking for just that diplomacy, because what has been missing and lacking for all this time in Maroon history is diplomacy. It's almost as if the Maroons were just a memorabilia, and there's so much more context behind that. Why? Because the Constitution, which I heard you mention earlier, doesn't make any mention of Maroons. However, there's a clause that is inserted in the Constitution, Clause 4, which speaks to previous engagements and obligations, which would have been obligations of the British, which would have now passed to the government of Jamaica. That's, to us, is saying this treaty and this document that we have here is still being regarded and should be attended to. So diplomacy is the answer.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that. I appreciate the way in which you have framed that. Now, one of the things, and I'm not even so much making a suggestion, I'm just seeking to engage a discussion. One of the things that seemed to, well, the bone of contention seems to be the claim to sovereignty, no?
Right.
And that has been challenged by lawyers. You know, the position people like Dr. Barnett and Michael Hilton have taken, Professor Bastiani, different from the position that, say, Bert Samuels has taken. But the Prime Minister, in his response to the position you have taken, was quite defiant. The question of sovereignty, it seemed to me, you know, that if we were able to find a way to sandpaper down that particular issue, then we may be able to get some traction on the others. Because if you look at the treaty, for example, where it says, it sets out the leadership succession of the Maroons, starting with Kodjo and then his various brothers. And it goes on to say that after the last brother dead, is the governor that will appoint the chief. That can't be sovereignty. If the treaty itself is giving the white man the power to decide who is to be the leader of the Maroon.
Right. All right. So let me explain that. So I heard you mention a couple of articles of the treaty, which I'd love to go back over a few of them for you and, you know, provide some clarity and context, which many Jamaicans and historians right through have missed, right? And I'm hoping that with this, it makes it a little bit clearer. So let me go through that clause you're talking, clause 15, right? It says that Captain Kodjo shall during his life be chief in command in Trelawney Town. As you said, it goes on after his decease. His brother Kompong, after his decease, his brother Johnny, and then Kofi, who shall be succeeded by Kwako. And after their demise, the governor or commander-in-chief for the time being shall appoint from time to time who he thinks fit for that command, meaning the command of the militia that would join the British to defend the island in the event that there was an attack. It is a total separate thing from saying they have the right to choose who the chief man is. The chief man is a separate individual and identity from the commander, who is the commander that takes battalion to join the British in force to defend the land.
Yeah, but well, you and I are going to disagree on that, because my argument would be that that question of commander-in-chief only applies if the island is engaged in some kind of war. But if it's not engaged in some kind of war, it's the governor, the King's House man, the one who was living in Spanish Town.
Right.
That was the one who was going to appoint the leader of the Maroon. That is not sovereignty.
No, I mean, you do have your right to differ in the opinion, but it's clear in terms of what it is saying. The Maroons were to join the British to defend the island in the event of an attack. We were talking about a time of war. Now, we arrived at this document to facilitate commerce and trade. You said it yourself. The plantations were suffering, the sugar itself was suffering, of which most of the British wealth in that time was depended on.
Colonel, I don't want us to sort of get stuck on this point, because there's some other important issues that I'm sure you want to discuss and I want to discuss too. But on this point, if you are correct, then that clause 15 couldn't stop there. It would have to say, after the last Kodjo brother dead, this is how the leadership of the Maroons will thereafter be determined. It never say anything like that. It don't say that the Maroons will elect their own leader.
No, but that wasn't a part of what this treaty is about. This treaty is about two separate entities agreeing at cessation of war first, and then two, how they then both operate within this land and defend it in the event of an invasion or some other nation that is rising from within the land. That is exactly what this document is.
All right, discuss with me now. Let us say that we were able to kind of tone down the rhetoric, you know?
Yes.
Get into a sort of civil discussion. Let us say that the government were to decide, look, the Maroons are part of our history. And therefore, you know, there's no point in, after 300 years now, getting into a fight with them. So let us set up a structure, a framework. Let us appoint a team, and they're going to sit down with the Maroons, and they're going to iron out these issues and see if we can come to some sort of position where everybody would be happy. If that kind of scenario were to emerge, a couple of questions I want to put to you. One, is there unanimity among the various Maroon communities as to what that new relationship with the Jamaican state would look like? That's one. Two,
I'm a chiropractor, and here are 3 simple changes for joint discomfort that make me $0.
is the question of sovereignty so riveted, so fixed, that is going to prevent any kind of movement on the whole issue of self-governance? Because you see, my thing is that you can have a community in Jamaica that within the framework of our laws and constitution has self-government, has certain rights that are reflected, if not in the constitution, reflected in law. And Parliament could meet next week and pass a law to that effect. But we're going to have to get over this business of sovereignty.
So the question I ask you, former Prime Minister, respectfully, what about the land?
No. I have no difficulty with the land, I have no difficulty with the land.
Let me tell you how
the only question, as far as I'm concerned, with the land is a couple of things. One, the boundaries of the land. Because if I read the treaty and I understand it, the treaty basically lets it up to the Maroons themselves to go work out the boundaries, right? So, but that too, I believe, is a situation where, reasonable people can sit down, get some surveyors, track out the land, see exactly. And in that respect, Colonel, you will have to also recognize what has been the practice over many, many years, right? So if you find a little piece of land that don't really fit into the 1,500 acres, but then that is land that have been an integral part of the Maroon community, don't quarrel over that, man. Just straighten that out, right? So I don't have a difficulty with that. The only concern I have about the land is, and I'd love you to talk to me on it, how do you reconcile it with the laws relating to titling and so on? For example, the land belongs to the Maroons, but is that collectively or is that individual? In other words, you are a Maroon. Do you have your own piece of land in the community? Or is it community land that you occupy? I don't know.
All right. Let me help you now. All right. So quite a few things you touched on there. So I hope I can retract, I can go back to and answer each properly.
Yeah, now, sure.
First and foremost, let's start out with the land. The land is owned communally. You occupy, you live on the land that it would have essentially been passed down through your family line. You occupy that space until you so desire not to anymore, or any of your successors choose not to occupy anymore. It reverts to the state. So essentially, Maroon land is communally owned, right? Now, when you talk about the territory, it says that they shall, this is thirdly of the treaty, that they shall enjoy and possess for themselves and posterity forever all the land situate and lying between Trelawney Town and the Cockpit, this Cockpit country, to the amount of 1,500 acres bearing northwest from the said Trelawney Town. So we can agree that the 1,500 acres is not in Trelawney Town. It says bearing northwest from said Trelawney Town. So the arguments of Maroons controlling 1,500 acres is totally debunked if you actually take time to read what this document here is saying.
But it says 1,500, Colonel man.
No, hold on.
It says 1,500.
No, you're correct. It says 1,500, but let me read it again. If we know what Trelawney Town looked like, not Trelawney the parish, Trelawney Town was a precinct itself, right? Which included a compound, Flagstaff, land of look behind, all of those districts would have been part of Trelawney Town. Now, Trelawney Town was within Cockpit country, right? So when it says they live on lands situate and lying between Trelawney Town, you're talking one parcel of land here, and the Cockpits, second parcel of land here, to the amount, which means including 1,500 acres bearing northwest from the said Trelawney Town.
You're going to have a difficulty there because your idea of what was given seemed to be very elastic. My idea of it is that it was very specific. If I say I'm going to sell you 100 acres of land between Half-a-Tree and Crossroads, you can't go capture the whole of Half-a-Tree to Crossroads. We have to agree. We have to agree. Which part between Half-a-Tree and Crossroads is the 100 acres that you are to get?
Okay.
So we get on the ground, and you may say, well, you know, I've been occupying this piece of Half-a-Tree to Crossroads for 100 years, so this must be in it. So we say, all right, this must be in it. Make us see how the 100 going to line up. No? Follow me.
With all this,
all right.
You know, we've gone a length at that discussion, and I mean, you know, we're pretty certain and with, you know, concrete evidence of what this document is portraying exactly is outlining the domicile of the Maroons.
My suggestion to you, and I'm being presumptuous, because you know more about the Maroon history than I will ever live to learn. But my suggestion to you, presumptuous as it is, you can't ride the horse two ways, right? If you are holding up the treaty and say, listen, this is what the treaty say. It says we shall have control in posterity. It says this is what we shall do. This is the rights that the treaty give us. And then when the treaty says 1,500 acres, they say, no, is that really 1,500? You know, it's enough more than that. You're going to run into some trouble.
But is that running into trouble, sir, for articulating the document that my ancestors have handed down to us? Is that correct to judge me for being able to identify and interpret a document that my ancestors have left? This document is very clear. I mean, the problem is that we've encountered in the last year in Jamaica particularly is the level of, I don't want to make it seem as if I'm being disrespectful, but I'm being frank, is that the competence as it relates to international law and treaty law is not really there. And then we have many persons who have had their input. They haven't taken time out to understand other interpretations and readings. We have documents, right, to support this thing, to make us not sound crazy. But people still come off making us seem like we're crazy and we're talking something that doesn't exist.
How do you...
let me tell you, in 1962, what has happened when Jamaica approached the Queen for independence, a big void was left in that the Maroons weren't informed, the Maroons weren't contacted. And that was evident in findings that we've come across in direct mails and letters from members of Parliament in the House of Commons, asking of Bustamante in his arrival, what is the position of the Maroons now and what is their status likely to be after? He went on further after Bustamante left in another writing to say, did not the good man hear my questions? I will make a note. The fact is, we do not want to challenge the Maroons on this situation to have them go back to the Queen over something that could be amicably resolved. Now, Jamaica is at a point where
did those members of the British House of Commons, did they raise those considerations in 1944 when a new constitution was delivered? Did they raise it with Lord Moyne, who came here to lay the groundwork for that new constitution, or was it only raised in 62? I remember, you know, the leader who presided over the negotiations for the constitution wasn't Buster, it was Norman Manley.
Right. The questions were directed at Bustamante, though, you know. I'm saying that what we have found is that there was some amount of contact and discussion that ought to have taken place then that didn't. It was important enough for it to be put on the file, right, that this was an objection and that is to be noted because it would be source for future contention. Where are we today? We're in a serious contention because, again, we're at a point of Jamaica moving to a republic status, which is great. We are for that. But what does it then mean? Because up until this date, there has been no attention paid respectfully to this document and what it stands for. We've had the British High Commissioner come here 2 times, back to back.
How do we
reaffirm that this document still stands? So how do we move forward?
How do we
yes.
How do we reconcile the sovereignty claim with the authority of the government? For example, let us say a man down in Magati kill another man and him run into Maroon into a compound to go hide out. Can the police enter a compound to apprehend that man, or have to get permission? Or they have to get permission?
Drinking warm water before bed balances blood sugar levels and reverses type 2. Thousands of people.
Let me read this for you.
Okay. Now we had just listened to the interview between Chief Curry and Bruce Golden. Now, for me, in terms of my interpretation, right, I think that Bruce Golden was a bit disingenuous. Now, I am going to bring up the treaty again, because what Bruce Golden wanted to do was to narrow down Curry, right, to what 1,500 acres, right, where in truth and in fact, what the treaty speak about, the treaty speak about all the lands. So let me just put it up again, put it up on it for people to see it and read it and interpret it. All right. Now let us look at this. Let us look at thirdly, right? Thirdly, comma, that they shall enjoy and possesses for themselves and prosperity forever. That is very important. Forever. Important number one. Now let us move on from that. All the lands. Thirdly, let me read that over. Thirdly, that they shall enjoy and possesses for themselves and prosperity forever all the lands situate and lying between Trelawney Town and the Cockpits to the amount of 1,500 acres bearing northwest from the said Trelawney Town. So let us look at that. Let us look at that. Fourthly, that they shall have liberty to plant the said lands with coffee, cocoa, ginger, tobacco, and cotton, and to breed cattle, hogs, goats, or any other flock, and dispose of the produce or increase of the said commodities to the inhabitants of the island, provided always that when they bring the said commodities to market, they shall apply fees to the customs, first to the customs, or any other magistrate of the respective parishes where they expose their goods to sale for a license to vend the same. Fifthly, the Captain Kojo and all captains adherent and people now in subjection to him shall all live together within the bounds of Trelawney Town, and that they have liberty to hunt where they shall think fit, except within 3 miles of any settlement, kraal or pen, provided always that in case hunters of Captain Kojo and those of other settlement meet, then the hogs to be equally divided between both parties. Take that away.
Well, on there. I'll take it away.
Yes.
You see
Don't take it away.
The explanation with the chief game.
Yes.
Regarding sovereignty, the chief is right.
The chief is right.
The chief is right. It is about providing a force to assist the British.
Yes.
Because here's why. One of the things that Mr. Goulding failed to understand is that the purpose of this treaty was for sovereignty. It was for self-governance. It was to say, we are going to let you guys govern yourself sovereignly. We're going to let you stay right where you are, right?
Exactly.
And so we can end the hostility. That was what it was about, so that they could do whatever they needed to do by themselves. And what I think Mr. Golding he doesn't appreciate is that there's a big difference between sovereignty and jurisdiction. Big difference. You know,
Exactly.
like when he gave him the scenario about if somebody commit a murder in Magotty and run to Cockpit culture where the Maroons are, what them going to do. It's a big difference. Sovereignty speaks about supreme political power, saying that this is where we live, this is our sovereign territory. Jurisdiction means the right to hear certain cases. And so if somebody committed a crime elsewhere and ran into the Cockpit country the Maroons would say, we have no right to decide this case, so we're going to have to turn him over. There's no problem there.
No.
There's a difference between sovereignty and jurisdiction, and that's what he doesn't understand. Sovereignty, sovereignty speaks to, for example, it talks about absolute power politically, absolute political power. Now, would Mr. Golding would he agree that even though Jamaica considers itself sovereign and independent, that it is not? Because as long as there's a monarchy involved, the king or the queen reign sovereign. So Jamaica is not sovereign.
Right?
Jamaica is not sovereign. So I don't know where I get this logic from. I don't know who I talk to him, where my dream or what. But with all due respect, I mean, he's a learned man. I think he needs to go back and revisit some simple, basic concepts: sovereignty versus jurisdiction, and also to look at the purpose of the treaty. And he will see that the purpose of the treaty was for the Maroons to have their own sovereignty, which is their political power to conduct their lives without the interference of the British. That's what it's all about. If you start out with that concept, so, well, why did they have this thing? Why did they have it? Then it's easy for you. It's easy for you to make the arguments after. But if you don't start there, if you don't start at the beginning of the race, all right, and you're coming in the middle, then you won't understand what's going on. People are going to run past you and you don't understand.
Exactly. Because, Rocky, when you look on number 3 here, right, where it says thirdly, and this is what they should bear in mind, right, that they shall enjoy and possesses for themselves and posterity forever. Ratty, it never said for what period of time, you know? Ratty. Right? It distinctly clear. So no, let us go to Andrew Holness. As I said earlier in the beginning of the discussion, that there are 2 administrations.
One quick thing. Sorry for interrupting. One quick thing. Him go back to 15, right? Mr. Golding went to 15, right? And he shouldn't have gone there because the title is Commander-in-Chief or Chief Commander.
Yes.
Right? And it says, after all their demises, the governor or commander-in-chief, for the time being, shall appoint from time to time whom he thinks fit for that command. The question with Mr. Golding should be the question that he should be asked and he should have answered is, since the death of the last person mentioned in paragraph 15 or section 15, who has been appointed by the governor or the commander-in-chief? Who?
Very good question. Right.
That's him. Should ask him who. To this day, interested to tell us from the date of the death of the last brother.
Yes.
Who has been appointed and by whom?
By the governor general. Very good question. So that's it. That's it. But Ratty, can you speak as it relates to class 4? Because class 4, right, ensure that the government should have the obligation that passed to the Jamaica government, right, to honor the treaty.
Right? You mean provision 4, right?
Yes, class 4 that
they shall have liberty to plant the said lands with coffee.
No, not that. The class 4 that Richard Curry, read out to Bruce Golden. The class 4 is not in this, right?
Okay.
That's within the Constitution. The class 4 is within the Constitution.
Read that to me again. Read
I
that
don't have that. But if I can play the clip again where Richard Curry spoke about the class 4, right, within the Constitution. That is within the Constitution, right? Where the Jamaican government, you understand, should oblige, right, as it relates to honor the treaty.
Is it section 4 or?
No, as I said, Ratty, it is not in this treaty here.
Oh, I'm looking at the Constitution. That's what I'm just asking.
Okay. It says class 4. I don't know where that is. But you want me to play over the thing and make you hear?
Yeah, play that section for me, please.
Yeah, play it back. Right? Because Richard Curry spoke about the class 4. Is it in the interview? Yes. Yes, step back a little. Step back a little. Yeah, just go down to here, so. Go down to here, so. Yeah.
I'm a therapist who goes to therapy, and some people think that's strange. The thing is, though, therapists are human beings.
So let us.
And him run into Maroon into a compound to go hide out. Colonel man.
No, hold on.
It said 1500.
No, and you're correct. It says 1500, but let me read it again. If we know what Trelawney Town looked like, not Trelawney the parish, Trelawney Town was a precinct itself, right? Which included a compound, Flagstaff, Land of Look Behind, all of those districts would have been part of Trelawney Town. Now, Trelawney Town was within Cockpit country, right? So when it says they live on lands situated and lying between Trelawney Town, you're talking one parcel of land here, and the Cockpits, second parcel of land here, to the amount which means including 1,500 acres bearing northwest from the said Trelawney Town.
You're going to have a difficulty there because your idea of what was given seemed to be very elastic. My idea of it is that it was very specific. If I say I'm going to sell you 100 acres of land between Half-a-Tree and Crossroads, you can't go capture the whole of Half-a-Tree to Crossroads. We have to agree. We have to agree. Which part between Half-a-Tree and Crossroads is the 100 acres that you are to get?
Okay.
So we get on the ground, and you may say, well, you know, I've been occupying this piece of Half-a-Tree to Crossroads for 100 years, so this must be in it. So we say, all right, this must be in it. Make us see how the 100 going to line up. No? Follow me.
With all due
respect,
we've gone a length at that discussion, and I mean, you know, we're pretty certain and with, you know, concrete evidence of what this document is portraying exactly is outlining the domicile of the Maroons.
My suggestion to you, and I'm being presumptuous, because you know more about the Maroon history than I will ever live to learn. But my suggestion to you, presumptuous as it is, you can't ride the horse two ways, right? If you are holding up the treaty and say, listen, this is what the treaty says. It says we shall have control in posterity. It says this is what we shall do. This is the rights that the treaty gives us. And then when the treaty says 1,500 acres, they say, no, is that really 1,500? You know, it's enough more than that. You're going to run into some trouble.
But is that running into trouble, sir, for articulating the document that my ancestors have handed down to us? Is that correct to judge me for being able to identify and interpret that document that my ancestors have left? This document is very clear. I mean, the problem is that we've encountered in the last year in Jamaica particularly is the level of, I don't want to make it seem as if I'm being disrespectful, but I'm being frank, is that the competence as it relates to international law and treaty law is not really there. And then we have many persons who have had their input. They haven't taken time out to understand other interpretations and readings. We have documents, right, to support this thing, to make us not sound crazy. But people still come off making us seem like we're crazy and we're talking something that doesn't exist.
How do you...
Let me tell you, in 1962, what has happened when Jamaica approached the Queen for independence, a big void was left in that the Maroons weren't informed, the Maroons weren't contacted. And that was evident in findings that we've come across in direct mails and letters from members of parliament in the House of Commons asking of Bustamante in his arrival, what is the position of the Maroons now and what is their status likely to be after? He went on further after Bustamante left in another writing to say, did not the good man hear my questions? I will make a note. The fact is we do not want to challenge the Maroons on this situation to have them go back to the Queen over something that could be amicably resolved. Now, Jamaica is at a point where
did those members of the British House of Commons, did they raise those considerations in 1944 when a new constitution was delivered? Did they raise it with Lord Moyne, who came here to lay the groundwork for that new constitution, or was it only raised in 62? I remember, the leader who presided over the negotiations for the constitution wasn't Buster, it was Norman Manley.
Right. The questions were directed at Bustamante, though, I'm saying that what we have found is that there was some amount of contact and discussion that ought to have taken place then that didn't. It was important enough for it to be put on the file, right? That this was an objection and that is to be noted because it would be source for future contention. Where are we today? We're in a serious contention because, again, we're at a point of Jamaica moving to a republic status, which is great. We are for that. But what does it then mean? Because up until this date, there has been no attention paid respectfully to this document and what it stands for. We've had the British High Commissioner come here 2 times, back to back.
How do we
reaffirm that this document still stands? So how do we move forward?
How do we
yes.
How do we reconcile the sovereignty claim with the authority of the government? For example, let us say a man down in Magati kill another man, and him run into Maroon into a compound to go hide out.
Stop it.
Can the police enter?
All right, Ratty. Yeah, the class 4 class 4 obligation that passed the Jamaican government to honor the treaty. I'm going to have Wifey search for that independently, right, to bring it back, right? But let us, because it seems like you had spoken about it earlier. I don't know the specific area to go back right now to find it.
Okay.
Right. So Wife is doing an independent search to bring that forward. But let us go to Andrew Wellness.
But before you move on, Mystic.
Yes.
This argument about sovereignty that I was listening to Bruce Golding and Chief Corridor talk about, and sovereignty. Jamaica is not really a sovereign country now. Jamaica is a protectorate administrative because it is there's an indirect kind of colonial rule that is still applied. Yes. Canada is an independent sovereign country. Jamaica is not. So the Maroons' sovereignty is still intact because they got it from the colonialists.
Yes.
So that hasn't changed. Now, Jamaica's sovereignty, Jamaica will only become a sovereignty if and when they are fully removed from the remove themselves, change their constitution from the monarchy, detach themselves from the monarchy, where the king is no longer the king is no longer the head of state, that sort of thing, with a governor general represents them. But they have to understand that Jamaica is this protectorate. Jamaica has the right to do its own laws and all of that. However, the Maroons in Jamaica have their own system of governance that they operate under, which is independent of the Jamaican political system. So I cannot understand why it is so difficult for them to understand and come to their realization that the Maroons are in fact a sovereign people.
Yeah.
Why it is so challenging, is really beyond me, because they have that right. Why are we why has this become a sticking point between them and the government when Chief Curry is right? And here you have somebody trying to tell him that no, you are basically trying to make a fool out of him when Chief Curry knows more about the Maroons and their existence than Bruce Gold would ever do. So
But
if
here's
the fish come out, yes, Ratigan, go ahead.
No, you know what's really strange about this? Jamaica is a constitutional monarchy, right? And the head of state of Jamaica is the king. Jamaica is not a sovereign country, but it's going to tell a sovereign people within the border that you're not sovereign. And Jamaica is not sovereign. I don't understand this. You're not sovereign, and you tell them that we don't recognize your sovereignty because we're sovereign.
Exactly. Yes, to the point. So the politicians don't know what they're talking about, Brother Ratigan.
And then if you're so sovereign, why the hell do you have a constitutional reform commission or committee trying to change the constitution and say we want to get rid of the king because we want to be sovereign? You're not
So
sovereign.
you're not sovereign.
How you can tell them other people are not sovereign? I don't understand this. If
That
that is
is
the
the problem.
if that is the case, guess what? The Maroons and the Jamaican government in the same boat. Nobody knows sovereign. If that is the case. No, so them can't talk to the Maroons then. Them can't talk to the Maroons.
No.
And the thing is, remember now that the Maroons got theirs from 1738 from the British government, which were the colonial empire.
Exactly.
Jamaica, you see what I'm saying? So they have that authority from those people who colonized them directly and said, you know what, for peace sake, just take the land and do the thing. You live there for free.
Yes.
You have a sovereign right to live there, do what you want to do, have your own system of governance. However, the protectorate, though, can have their own system of governance internally, but it is independent of the Maroons. So we should not be having this discussion when Jamaica is not the sovereign state. The Maroons are.
Exactly, because as what Ratigan mentioned earlier, right, which is specifically clear, right, is that as it relates to the treaty, right? Remember now that their decision-making process were independent of the British, right? So they were under their own rulership and guidelines. So that makes them sovereign. That makes them sovereign, right? So I don't understand where that is going. But as I said earlier, that there are two administrations that try to dilute, right, the sovereignty of the Maroon, which is the Bruce Golding administration, because obviously Bruce Golding wants to say to Richard Curry that he's not interpreting the treaty, right, properly. You understand? And as according to his interpretation, you understand, they are not sovereign, which that is totally wrong. It is Bruce Golding who is misinterpreting, you understand, the treaty. Let us go back now to the next administration that is watering down the sovereignty of the Maroon. Let us...
Mystic, one of the things I wanted to mention.
Yes, sorry about that, sir.
What Ratty and Miss Daisy talked about. There is a collaboration with national authorities. It says while the Maroons handle many internal matters independently, they also collaborate with national authorities when necessary. For example, serious criminal offenses such as murder or major theft are typically referred to the Jamaican national legal system, which is still a British Commonwealth system.
Yes.
This collaboration helps ensure that justice is served in accordance with both Maroon customs and national laws, while also respecting the autonomy of Maroon communities.
Read that over, and tell them what autonomy means. Read that over.
This collaboration helps ensure that justice is served in accordance with both Maroon customs and national laws, while also respecting the autonomy of Maroon communities. In other words, the Maroon community has this right given to them under the British under the hand of the British. Same British that rule over Jamaica, the Queen, they also rule over the Maroons, that they were given the right to do certain things, to be autonomous. Right?
Exactly.
And so Jamaica don't even have those rights. Right? Jamaica have the rights, and they still have to go appeal all the way up to the Privy Council. I don't see anything written in the Maroon law that their little cases that they settle by council. They have a council and they have chiefs. That anything goes to the Privy Council.
Yes.
But they will turn over the murders and other things and thefts, burglaries, I guess, stuff like that. They'll turn that over to the local police.
So let me stress on the word autonomy, because what that was saying as it relates to the Maroon governing themselves, self-governance. You see what I'm saying here?
Yep.
So that makes the Maroons sovereign. You understand? Indeed, the Maroons are sovereign. So, and there's no argument in terms of that. And that's why you find it might be some lawyers are saying that, yes, the Maroons are sovereign. Some lawyers are going against that. Depending on their interpretation. But to me, in terms of my interpretation, right, and of course, all the members of the panel here, you understand, we tend to agree that the Maroon, right, definitely, they are sovereign. Now, let us hear what Andrew Wallace has to say, you understand, as it relates to why him now, you understand, want to tone down the Maroon sovereignty. Because him want to tone down the Maroon sovereignty as a result of pilfering. That doesn't see main purpose, we attack it as it is. Right?
He wants to undermine Chief Curry.
Yes.
Right? And his thing is, I am the big kahuna.
Yes. No, let us hear what he has to say. Right? And as I said earlier, prior in starting, right, that the two administrations that really undermine Curry's authority is the Bruce Golding and the Andrew Wallace. Let us go to hear what Andrew Wallace is saying. Let us hear what I don't call him sweet pepper big nose.
Only him allowed to call him that.
Only person can't call him that.
Sweet pepper nose. All right.
Me alone can't call him that.
All right. Let us hear what sweet pepper nose has to say. All right, come in, sweet pepper nose. Now, because sweet pepper nose, you know, full of it. Right? Now, here's sweet pepper nose. There is no other sovereign authority in Jamaica, Wallace declares. Prime Minister Andrew Wallace today declared that under his leadership, you know, not 1 inch of Jamaica will come under any other sovereign authority. So by him saying that, you know, is to say that even where Curry occupied, right, not 1 inch. Can you imagine? It's come like Andrew Wallace own Jamaica.
Yeah, he's disrespecting Curry right there. He's disrespecting those people.
Let us read it back over, people. This is so disrespectful. Prime Minister Andrew Wallace today declared that under his leadership, not 1 inch of Jamaica will come under any other sovereign authority. No, man, Jamaica belongs to you. Dismissing the rhetoric of the accompanying Maroons that they are sovereign people. But here you know, Wallace made the declaration as he addressed a press conference this morning, called to declare a zone of special operations for parade gardens and other communities in central Kingston. Asked by the Gleaner during the presser about the decision by his government to disengage with so-called sovereign Maroons, and obviously upset owners said what was being asked of the government was for it to use taxpayers' money and grant funds to the fund another government. In early December, the government of Jamaica issued a directive to all ministries, departments, and agencies prohibiting the allocation of funds to any area that has declared itself sovereign. Yo, the man are out of order. The man are out of order. The man are a dictator. What a piece of out of orderness. They are so true.
No, consequently, Mystic.
Yes.
What if tomorrow Bill Gates say, I'm giving $100 million to the Maroon districts so they can do self-development? Does the government have any say-so in that?
Exactly. Right? No, this is crazy. There are some threats that the average citizen looking on might think, right, innocuous or popular and take a liking to it because the discussions that are held in places that should know better does not highlight the threat. The Prime Minister said, Jamaica is a unitary sovereign state. There is no other sovereign authority in Jamaica other than the government of Jamaica. Let me make this absolutely clear. None. Whoa. What you are asking is for the government of Jamaica to take taxpayers' money and grant fund to fund another government.
Doesn't he break down monies to the parishes, and the parishes break down monies to the cities and towns under its jurisdiction?
So hold on. Isn't the Maroon areas and the Maroon areas not a part of Jamaica?
It sure is. It sure is.
What the Prime Minister is saying here?
Well, that's why they take advantage in the way they do. They take advantage.
This is not a local government, a parish council government that is under our constitution. Are you crazy? He asked Andrew. No. Do you know what you're asking? This is the stuff of how guerrilla wars come and state breakdown. Hey, take this away, because this is what.
Mystic.
Yes.
He said that he issued an order to agencies and ministries to prohibit funds to, quote, any area that has declared itself sovereign. Any area that has declared itself sovereign. The Maroons did not necessarily declare themselves sovereign. The treaty that was signed with the Brits gave them the sovereignty. What I would suggest to my producers and for the Saturday program, come and get big now, my producers now, starting this Saturday. So them they that and say, if we ease up, come I give it too much thing we can use on Saturday. But a mystic program this, we have to talk the things. But here's what happened now. What I would suggest to the Maroons is simple as this idiotic statement from the Prime Minister is, Maroons, please go, because we love to talk about South Africa, right?
Yes.
And what I would suggest to them is go and look at how South Africa governs the Zulu tribe in KwaZulu-Natal, because they run. It's almost as if they're sovereign people, basically in an area where the government spends money in that area, but the government they have their own king. Believe it or not, they have the Zulu king in South Africa. Even though you have a president, you have a Zulu king, right? And taxpayers funds that household, that royal household. So what the Maroons should do is go and look at that and say, how do you guys operate here? Because it's very similar to to the situation with the Maroon, where the Maroons are right now. And I mean, the Prime Minister, I think he was just, I'd like to give people the benefit of the doubt, and I think he was just speaking off a raw emotion. I don't think he was thinking. Now, some people might say, yeah, he was thinking, and the guy's a jackass. I won't go that far. All I'll say is that, he was wrong then, and he's wrong now. And if he maintains that position, he will, in the future, he will be wrong in the future. He needs to do a course correction and come back and sit down with these people. and I said these people, I shouldn't even say these people because they're our people. You need to sit down with us and say, listen, how can we make this work? What can we do? And then, when you talk about people consider themselves sovereign, and that he's telling agencies and whatnot not to provide funding, let me ask the Prime Minister a question. Mr. Prime Minister, aren't the Maroons eligible to register and vote, sir? Do they not pay taxes, sir?
Okay.
So who you going to deny them? You tell the agencies and ministries not to spend money on them. They pay taxes like everybody else. If you buy a bull in Jamaica, they're taxed.
So why are they then taking their lumber?
Yes.
You said they're not sovereign. Why are you taking away why is the Forestry Department in the cockpit country? They should be in no territory. And the thing is, you talk about South Africa, but there are other countries that have natives. America have natives, and they have territories that are native lands, and they still provide tax dollars to those, even though they have their own systems of government.
Canada does.
Canada does. Australia does. So I don't see how this little dingbat is coming on to tell them that you're not providing any money to these sovereign people. He's lost his doggone mind. And the Maroons are a sovereign people. Jamaica is not a sovereign country, Andrew Holness. And I challenge him to prove us wrong. Prove us and tell us that Jamaica is a sovereign country and the Maroons are not a sovereign country, people.
You know, that's an interesting question for the Constitutional Reform Committee or Council, whatever the last seat stands for. Is to ask them, is Jamaica, very simple question, and I ask them, yes or no, is Jamaica a sovereign country?
Exactly.
Is Jamaica sovereign? Because if Jamaica is a sovereign country, then where the hell we are spending money upon Constitutional Reform Committee about we want to have this and we want to have that, we want to get rid of king and that, then you're not sovereign, because the Constitution says the head of state of Jamaica is the Queen, which Mike's no is the Queen, is a king.
Yes.
So you can't call yourself sovereign.
But you know what, Ratty, what all Jamaicans should have now ensured doing is to say to Marlene Malafort and those who are reshaping the Constitution that there shouldn't be a forward movement in that until the Maroons, right, being brought to the table, right, and have a discussion, because the Maroon, right, sovereignty, right, needs to be adhered to and needs to be entrenched. You understand? That sort of protection needs to be enshrined in the Constitution as it relates to Maroon. And that should be, you understand, on the ballot. That should be on the ballot. If you are every Jamaican should make sure that if this government, you understand, having a constitution reform and not having the Maroons included into that, you understand, to preserve their rights, then we have to stand down as it relates to that. Every Jamaican has to bear in mind, because what Andrew want to do, is want his government, you understand, to sell out why I'm sell out. You understand? And this is one of the reasons why I read the first document as it relates to what some of our own blacks had done in Nigeria, sold us out. And this is what Andrew Holness is now doing. Andrew Holness led government as it relates to Nigel Clark. You understand? Remove the bauxite levy. Remove the bauxite levy. We are not getting anything. We are not getting anything from the bauxite levy. While you have Michael Manley, you understand, who increased the bauxite levy, right? And where that was quite beneficial for us, right? Many of us, that as a result of that, Michael Manley was able to give us, you understand, free education up to tertiary level, which many of them in the Jamaica Labour Party, you understand, benefited from. So it seems like they don't remember, right? No, and this is what I'm saying. When you talk about Mark Golding and Andrew Holness, Mark Golding right now is willing, right, to bring Richard Curry, right, to the table within this discussion and acknowledge, right, the Maroons, you understand, being sovereign. You understand? So the People's National Party are already, You understand? Acknowledging, you understand, the Maroon. We don't want this Jamaica Labour Party government who is going to create enemy amongst some of our people and to what? To cancel their life. Right? They are not to be funded. They are not to be this. They are not to be that. The Prime Minister said it out of his own mouth. You understand what I'm saying? No, the Prime Minister said that we can't take taxpayers' dollars to to facilitate them. Why simultaneously you are taking tax from them? That is
But also mistake. Why you send police and soldier and the whole of the army, military people up into cockpit country when the Maroons were defending their rights to know where their lumber is going and how they're going to be compensated for their lumber.
Exactly.
You said they don't have any rights, they don't have any sovereignty, so why? And you're not giving them anything. So why are you taking their stuff? Why do you have the forestry department here? And as you talk about you cannot have a constitutional reform without having a conversation with the Maroons. There can be no constitutional reform without the rights of Jamaicans being at the first page, the opening pages of the Constitution must be about the rights of the people, the rights of the Maroons to exist on their land as a sovereign people. That mustn't be trampled with. It must be as enshrined in the Constitution. But you cannot have this constitutional argument or reform without the rights of the people. And I was listening to some town hall she had, and it's all about president. What kind of president do you want? Do you want executive president or non-executive president? And I mean that we shouldn't that conversation should not be taking place right now. What should be taking place is a holistic approach to the reform of the Constitution with the rights of the people at the front. And then the people must decide how they hold the politicians accountable, not politicians deciding how they hold people accountable and themselves unaccountable. It doesn't work that way. And we have to stand with the Maroons no matter what.
Exactly. Wonderful. Brother Herb, we are going to finish off here. And so then we are just going to go around the panel to ask each person to close out for us. Again, let us begin with Sister Maria as it relates to his closing argument. I know you just finished, but you know, with me, it's always ladies before gentlemen, right?
Yeah, you know. Yeah, but I stand with Corey. We're on this platform and on the platforms that we stand with Chief Corey. The Maroons are a sovereignty and honest. Go and read and edify yourself and stop behaving like you don't have any sense. They are a sovereign people. They have always been a sovereign people, and with or without you, they will be a sovereign people. Get in formation. This is not a game. Get in formation and leave the Maroons alone. They didn't trouble you. And here's the thing, Andrew Honest, if you start nothing, there will be nothing. It's as simple as that. Because they have the right to defend themselves from the tyranny of your administration.
All right. Brother Herb, please say your final note on this panel tonight.
Yeah, listen, I know I was trying to find the ruling that the Caribbean Court of Justice made about the Maroons, I believe is in Suriname. And they say it should impact the Maroon situation in Jamaica as well. But there are different groups that are now supporting the UN, for instance, with the office on the people they used to refer to as the fourth world, right? All the Indians, all the other groups that fall into the category that these folks fall into. The Cultural Survival and United Nations are supporting Maroon rights under international human rights law. And they are highlighting the importance of respecting indigenous people's right to land, culture, and self-determination. And I do sincerely believe that Andrew Holness believes he's getting a mandate from somewhere, whether it's the British government has given him this mandate or empowered him to step in and to stop the Maroons from enjoying the rights to land, culture, and self-determination. Because this is what this basically is all about, right? He wants everybody to bow down to him. What Andrew Holness is forgetting that he is the head of a corrupt government, an organized criminal enterprise. And when they violate the laws as they go along, they are nothing but criminals. And you cannot have criminals telling good people who have the right of self-governance what they can or cannot do. He needs to really concentrate on cleaning up his own act first and foremost before he goes interfering with Chief Curry. This whole thing where Chief Curry is standing up for righteousness, in that he's protecting his people and their health. These people have no health coverage, but they're being poisoned by the action of Andrew Holness authorizing the illicit use of the Maroon land.
Exactly.
So we have to settle those things in a more efficient and aggressive manner. And the Attorney General of Jamaica, if he was truly independent, would have pushed back on Andrew's actions a long time ago. This is why the review that they're doing, they have to separate the legislature and the executive, because Andrew has too much power over the members of the cabinet while they're in legislation. But if they have a separate legislature and a separate cabinet, he wouldn't have that power.
Separation of power is very important.
Separation of power is extremely important. So until that occurs, we're going to have this problem. It's a very bad situation for Jamaica. And the British appear to be doing whatever suits them. Somebody mentioned earlier in the chat, divide and conquer. That has been the British style for a millennia. They divide and they conquer. And this is what they practice in Jamaica still, divide and conquering. Everything that we're talking about, the environmental issues is killing people. The land rights issues, one of these days, it's going to come to blows and kill people. Right? So all of what we see the CCJ has ruled on for the Maroon people in Suriname, and I need to find that, they need to expand that to Jamaica. And this is why we need that true independence, divorce ourselves from Britain and from this Privy Council, and stick to the CCJ, where people will have more and better access. Because this has to be settled. And until Holness can settle his declaration claims, he should be under charges and they need to take him out of circulation. Because what he's doing is clearly dividing the country and trying to make Chief Curry out to be some kind of bad guy, and he's not. He's standing up for his rights, which most Jamaicans are failing to do. They should be following his example.
Okay.
Thank you.
And let me just extend on what Herb said there in terms of taking out the Prime Minister out of circulation. Simply means vote him out.
Yep.
You mentioned that. You understand? Because we don't want people to take it, you know, the other way, right? What Herb is talking about, to ensure that we understand what is going on, and at the poll, we make sure that we vote and vote him out. Yes, the man without fear, Brother Rattigan. All right.
Yes, sir. First of all, let me just thank you and your lovely wife for having me on. Let me just thank my panelists, my sister over there, and my brother, well, my big brother over here, sir. And let me just start by saying that when you listen to Herb, you get the distinct impression that Herb want to lock up this Prime Minister, you know, because Herb always talk about charges and get rid of him and things like that. And when you listen to my sister sound like she want to take out her belt and say, Andrew, come here. I'm beating. So she sound like
Thank him.
Rattigan, in the words of a famous artist, I want to say, Andrew, come over, Yasso.
That's what it sounds like when we listen to both of them. No, we have a wonderful group of producers and they just start work, you know. And we just want to tell the producers them, say, you see when I come on program like this with them amongst my brother and my sister, them. Yeah, we'll talk about the things, you know what I say? Now we're not talk about the things. And it not really matter in the sense that when you talk about that not first, because Jamaican people need to hear this as reinforcement. Exactly. They need to hear this as many times as they can. So when me come on Mystic program, me now put no handcuff on my mouth. Me just I gotta talk out the things. No, you know, I was reading the chat and them said that the Prime Minister is afraid of Chief Curry. No, Chief Curry is an auditor. Can you think of somebody else who's an auditor that the Prime Minister is afraid of? Maybe we need to get Chief Curry over this corner here and say, make us start looking for some numbers and things, right? So, but all in all, as we go through the discussion, one of the things that when I listen to the videotape that you played, with videotapes actually, or the sound bites you played with the Prime Minister and the former Prime Minister, it's abundantly clear to me that these people seem to think that the treaty is not worth the paper it's written on today. They're saying it was good back in 1738. It's no longer useful now because we don't see you as sovereign. The Brits may have considered you back then as sovereign, but we don't. That's the clear message I'm getting, because if they go through this document and just read it, you know, curse for read will tell them that the Maroons and and the area they occupy based on the treaty, it's sovereign territory, they're sovereign people. And we need to honor and respect and embrace that as part of Jamaican history instead of fighting the people them, you know. And then when you go say you're not going to give them no money, right? These are people who voted for you know. By the way, the people who vote for him, I open a ear and read the words. Him said not even a cent for Uno because him not recognize Uno as sovereign, and he ordered his ministries and agencies not to spend any money there in where they live. No, all I have to say to the Prime Minister is this: Mr. Prime Minister, you have so many issues besetting and affecting Jamaica now. Why you would want to pick a fight with the Maroons? The Maroons don't do nothing. The Maroons not pose no threat. Them not take up arms. Them not conspire, plot, you know, or have a design to take over Jamaica. These are peace-loving people. Them sit down there and you wouldn't even know them there. The only reason we know them there because we not stir up the thing and not deal with the people them where. Look, we have roads to be built. And when I say roads, I mean roads up to international standards, not 1 inch or 2 inches of Barber Green. right? Not the roads always say mash up, right?
Exactly.
We have education issues that we have to address because Jamaica is below international educational standards right now, basic subjects. Healthcare, no make we talk about that because the American government just issued an indictment last week on the healthcare system.
Oh yes.
And the criminal justice system in Jamaica, right? We have infrastructure, we have foreign affairs ministry, we have local government, we have agriculture, which bought fertilizer, fly out of the door like it a go out of style. Plus, we have another hurricane bearing down on us. And we just had one. We have another one coming. Knock on wood, it won't affect Jamaica. But this is shaping up to be a busy hurricane season. These are the things you should be focused on. You should be focused on protecting Jamaica and Jamaicans as a whole. You don't want no separation. We're all one. Focus on that and leave the Maroons alone. Let them live in peace and let them live in tranquility without any interference by the government. Now, Chief Curry, I would like you, based on my reading of this, I want you to drop the chief title and call yourself captain, because this thing refers to captains or commander-in-chief. Take on the title there, and then you can make the connection between that title and the 1738 document. And last but not least, check out the Zulus in South Africa. Check out the Aborigines in Australia. Check out the American Indians in India, and check out indigenous people all over the world and see how they operate. And then you bring that model, make the argument not just based on a selective instance, but make it on a comprehensive look at all of these indigenous people across the world and how they operate within the concept, the scope, and the governance of a sovereign country. And we know Jamaica is sovereign. So until then, I'm just begging the Prime Minister, begging him, you have too many problems right now affecting Jamaica. Deal with those problems and leave the Maroons alone. Thank you.
Thank you. Well said, Ratty. All right, so let me just put the ice thing.
Before you finish, Mystic, I want to correct something. The CCJ ruling on Maroon rights in Suriname, they're not specifically ruled. It was the Inter-American Court of Human Rights, which is a part of the OAS, Organization of American States, even at a higher level. Okay? That's all North America, Latin America, and Caribbean. They have a ruling on Samaka Maroons. In 2007, the rule in favor of the Samaka Maroons in Suriname, recognizing their collective land rights and ordering the Surinamese government to establish a legal framework to protect these rights. So that case is out there as precedents. So I would think that when you have precedents like that,
yes,
that Chief Curry could, in fact, file his own case to CCJ, and then you'd have two different countries in CARICOM that's going after the same thing.
Exactly.
All right.
Thank you, Herb, for that. And let me just finish the night in saying, all Jamaicans, all well-thinking Jamaicans, let us galvanize around the situation in terms of defending our brothers and sisters, the Maroons, right? And make sure that we stand in solidarity with Chief Curry in defending what is right for our Jamaican people, defending our territory. And, you know, let me say, sweet pepper nose, remember now. No, seriously. We know that all of what sweet pepper nose is dealing with, distractions after distractions. Let me finish tonight in saying, remember that the statutory declaration has not been certified. Now, we're very serious about that. And all the distraction that you are coming up with to deflect, it's all about the statutory declaration. Illicit enrichment, you understand, as it relates to 8 members of parliament. This is very serious. So the time now street people know take now for the focus on the Maroons, right? Please, the Integrity Commission asks you to get some relevant document, you understand, to have your statutory declaration certified. Be busy in doing that. Because trust me, in a real democracy country, right, you couldn't live out the first year as it relates to not certifying the statutory declaration. I want to say live out the first year because I don't want to be misconstrued. I simply means that people would galvanize and ask you to leave. So I'm not saying that the Prime Minister, that people are threatened, blah, blah, blah. We are not sending any threat to the Prime Minister. Let me make that specifically clear. I am saying that you would survive in a real democracy, right? If you were in America, United States of America, right? And your statutory declaration cannot be certified, you'll be processed and possibly sent to prison, right? As it relates to illicit enrichment. So we are asking you, right, to be that beacon of light in terms of making that example, right? And have your statutory declaration be certified. If they cannot be certified, right, step aside, right? So that is what I am saying in terms of ending the program. You know, but with the deflection, you understand, and your diversion and all of them stuff there. It's about a statutory declaration that is not certified. Illicit enrichment, $1.7 trillion been missing from our treasury, and the health sector alone responsible for $700 billion that cannot be properly accounted for. This is the art and the focus of the issues going into general election. To all them lands that we have promised to people and land title, it now will help you, the Jamaican people, them gone left you already. So if they want promise land, but they want for this, but they want for that, nothing that you are promising, Andrew Honest. What we want to see, you have seen the poll, as it relates to 88% of Jamaican people, you understand, want to know that your statutory declaration can be certified. And if it cannot be certified, right, you are not to go any further in our political process. Right? Three people knows, don't go any further. We are just end it right there. And of course,
before you go, just want to add one thing. You said something that I should have mentioned. I just want to make a little comment on it. The Prime Minister saying going to give 300 land titles, right?
Yes.
All right. Now, people who live in another area, that think about this. Were you paying land tax before the Prime Minister come and knock down on the houses? I doubt it. Because you don't have no title, so you never pay land tax. So you realize now you have to go come out on the pocket now and pay land tax. Plus, on a house, one did have it gone. When me did want the Prime Minister says, I'm going to rebuild these homes and I'm going to give them title. That would make sense. But him lick down the house now and say, here what? Soon the title no, guess what? No, we have to pay money now, So now build the house them now.
Perfect, right.
Now build the house. No, this is a scheme. I want to say house scheme. I mean housing scheme. I mean thieving scheme. It says a scheme. There's the man I do where him lick down on a house, right? And go on the title for someone who did occupy already and never pay on a tax man. And now I'm going to some title and now not have to pay a tax man, but you don't have no house. You have to go start all over and you have to go pay a land tax. That make any sense?
And he could have streamlined the people who had the houses and say, okay, let us cut off where you have your house. You start to pay, give you some title for it, and you start to pay tax for them. So it's the same as a dingbat.
Yeah.
Right. Well, should I do? If it really, what could I do? Say to the people, we'll give some tax abatement or tax forbearance or something while you build your house, so you don't pay no land tax for the next 20 years or whatever it is. But him said, no, we are going to lick down on the house because I say that every poor man must build a castle, but me don't like the castle we want to build. Them too big. So me are going to lick them down. And they never have pay tax before now, but now they're going to have to pay tax. And guess what? No. We can't build a mansion now, but guess what? You see, wait, it costs you like 20 to or 2 million for build several years ago, it will cost you 20 now because material gone up, labor gone up, everything gone up. And on top of that, when you're going to have to pay no taxes, because if you don't pay no taxes, we're coming after you. People are open to realize what's going on. This is a classic case of give and take. This is a classic case of give and take. And him give you something, and him take back where him give, and him take back where you have. People, wake up, man. Wake up.
Exactly. And yes, Ratty. That's the final word, Ratty?
Yeah, me vex.
Me vex, come on. So, right, let me remind all the persons who are listening to us, right, that to ensure that, you stay informed, be educated. Remember, always tune into Reason with Rattigan on a Saturday. Please remember, go over, support, right? I will be there, right? So please support, right? Reason with Rattigan on a Saturday. And remember, coming up,
August 30th.
Let us play it one more time for the people to see that.
Yeah.
Right?
We want change. Hey, when you see the picture, you see picture of the pothole them do and the people them lay down on bed in a hospital, and we want change. And people, like Mystic said, when you tune in this Saturday is going to be a special show because this Saturday, you're not going to get one, you're not going to get two, you're not going to get 3 or 4 or 5, you're going to get 6 retired FBI agents on the program. And we are going to talk about solutions to the problems in Jamaica. And you're going to be surprised because the panel of 6 is made up of a diverse group. We have white woman, we have white man, we have Arab American, we have Italian American. We even have 2 Jamaican retired FBI agents in the pool. So on after tuning. Plus we're going to talk about the travel advisory and the indictment of the healthcare system. And we hope to get somebody from the Maroon community to join us this Saturday. So again, please join us, be informed, and continue the support because together we have the power. Together we have the power. Thank you.
Look what Larkland said. Look what Larkland said. The PM flew to Washington to lobby the travel advisory. The State Department reissued it right after. He has lost respect. Very true, Larkland.
Larkland, let me tell you something. Don't forget that we have an illustrious ambassador here, very influential ambassador. She gets things done, or not. And we have some secrets that we are talking about how she tried to deal with the State Department. Because remember, she run up her mouth to talk about the diaspora must write to the State Department, write to them congressman. She never even give them the address or no phone number for the State Department. And she says she's having meetings and blah, 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 and so them do to her. That is when you have a novice doing foreign policy. That is when you have a novice doing foreign policy. Foreign policy is done behind closed doors. We see them come out and talk to the media, and so you go. That is not how it goes. And it's in my experience, and I worked 7 years overseas in the Middle East and in Africa, and spent a lot of time doing TD wires all over the place. And the way that sausage is made, it's made in quiet deliberation between parties who have sense, people who know what the issues are, and them can formulate the issues and make a convincing argument for their position. But when you have rare people, hurry come up people in a positions of power, them don't understand how to use it. And when them do, them abuse it. And so them think them they are Jamaica, them can give people some food, have them do certain things. It now works in a foreign. And we are going to talk about that this Saturday. Because she was a run up her mouth, and this is a slap. This is a personal slap to her efforts or the lack thereof. She run pan with the guy named her the Roland
Martin Unfiltered. Yeah, I saw it.
Yeah, Roland Field program got chat a whole bunch of nonsense where she don't know what chat. Roland himself, that follow fear lead him. I don't think Roland understand what going. Him go to Jamaica and spend a little time on the beach and all of a sudden I'm an expert on the issues.
So affecting them. I think that's what happened.
I tell you that, hey, Mystic, tonight you get me really vexed. You get me vexed. You get me all riled up. We can't go kill a man and to talk about the issues then. But but believe me, this foreign policy unit what them have in Jamaica, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade, is they have no clue. And by the way, Miss Michelle Neil Tolo, be very careful. Be very careful. Mrs. Say I use the Global Diaspora, Global Jamaica Diaspora Council. Use the name. You are not our representative. You are not. There's no such entity registered anywhere in America except by us. So you work for us, and at this point, we're not giving you permission to use the name. And it's just a matter of time. It's just a matter of time before you get that cease and desist letter before we drag you in a court. And it now go pretty because you have to go spend your own money, defend yourself, and you're going to have to go take your time to come to court. And I'm going to tell you who are going to depend on the other side. Me. They're going to depend on the other side. Right? We don't need no attorney for this except me. So me, I'm going to see you in a court, Michelle. If you continue with this nonsense, I'll see you in a court. And the other so-called representatives, them, Peter Greeley, remember, and the other one, Shana Chin. We are going to call for representatives because we are going to file over in California, and we have one left down in Georgia, and we are going to take care of them. And at that point, the cease and desist letters are going to go out. I'm going to save the Jamaican government are going to come defend them because the Jamaican government will not spend a dime on them. Will not spend a dime on them. For show you how them people, that's why we'll talk about crime this Saturday. I spend a great deal of time, Mystic, you see the report which part them catch 3 people, a transport almost half a billion kilo of cocaine.
Yes.
And them just sentenced them. And them sentenced them to a grand total of $33,000 or 6 months in prison.
Yes.
So tell me what message you send right there, so?
Exactly.
What message you send? I know the American government look on this.
Who they know, Ratty?
Yeah.
Who are they connected to?
Organized crime. That's all of it.
What we want though, we want to see who are going to pay the $33,000 because US dollars, because we know them not have the money. The money not have the money. So we are going to track and trace and say who paid the money there. The American government are going to track and trace it too,
Yes.
Because they're interested for say, listen, you can imagine if them catch them 3 months in American waters or American side with almost 400 and something kilo cocaine. Them are going to talk who responsible for this, who behind it. Them are going to talk. And the 3 man in Jamaica not say nothing. By the way, somebody tell me one person who they behind it, who involved in this thing. One of the big man them behind this thing. But time will come.
That's why they got the slap on the wrist. They just got a slap on the wrist.
Yeah. Mystic, you better just lock off the camera before me just go on. You better lock off the camera before me just go on. I'm going. Coming on where I go tomorrow. So
Saturday a different thing, man. Saturday a different thing.
No, I'm not talking about the things now, man. I don't know where I go, man. Not talking about people need to hear them. Them need to hear it over and over and over and over.
Exactly.
Oh, by the way, one of the announcements we'll make, and Herb, I should have discussed this with you earlier. But one of the things I spoke to a journalist yesterday, and he admit that a lot of the things that should have been reported have not been reported because of fear, because of incompetence, because a lot of them knew, and because a lot of them they're just chasing stories. So I said to him, listen, I have a solution for the ones who would like to share information with us. I said, we have some confidential email addresses. Herb set them up. And I said to him, here's what we'll do. The foundation will purchase VPN, virtual private networks.
Right.
We're going to purchase them. And we said, and so what will happen is that you can send your information from Jamaica and they will never know, because it won't be coming from Jamaica. It will be coming from somewhere else in the world. You're going to be using a server outside of Jamaica. So they will never know. We can't talk about it now. They will never know. Send us the information and we will take action on that information. We will protect it and we will protect your identity. So
Awesome.
we're going to make the announcement there Saturday as well. But may I make it right now upon the program? That is one of the things that we're.
Thank you for that, Ratty. Well, as you see that we come to such an intuitive night tonight, right? Very educated and of course very inspiring. So that is the end of our program, and we want to say a big thanks to all persons who tune in, right? And remember, Saturday, Reason with Ratigan. We will be there. All right.
Let's
Good night, everybody.
All right.
All right. Cool.
Listen to yourself.
All right.
Yeah, man.
Okay. All right. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, that's where we come to the end of the night. And we want to say once again a big thanks for you to tune in to Mystic Sensation on a Tuesday and Friday. And remember, tune in with Brother Ratigan on Saturday, right?
Titans on Thursday.
And Titans on the Thursday. You know, we call it Mr. Titan Thursday because I know that the Titan boss is loading up, right, all the ammunition for us to use. So, of course, Thursday, catch us on the Titan, right? Love you, my people.
Okay,
right.
And also Town Hall with Wayne Lonesome on Sunday.
And Town Hall with Wayne Lonesome, right? Man in the Wilderness, the Titan boss. Blessing.
Okay, good night, guys. I have to go get ready for work. They're running late. All right, so until Friday when I see you again, and Baron will see you before then. Have a good night. Bye.
All right.